In this world, there's two kinds of people, my friend. Those with loaded guns and those who dig. Broadcasting from a Montana wilderness fortress at the headwaters of the Missouri, this is Matt Christiansen Live.
20 years ago, Vang, who is Hmong, was convicted of sexual assault involving a minor. Now, last week, the man who had been living in St. Paul was deported to Laos. Good. Vang received a 30-year probation sentence in 2006 after he was convicted of felony sex crimes against a girl under the age of 13.
Okay, kill him!
This is the way.
While speaking to the news media today, the governor was asked about the 42-year-old father's recent deportation.
This is gonna be good.
Did that make us any safer?
Yes!
Did that make the children that are left behind any more stable? Did it improve the idea that we can't all be judged by our worst day?
What the is this?
You are fake news.
He touched young people.
Very fake news.
Definitely worth checking into.
Well, are you retarded?
The R word. This is shameful.
That's not called for.
Shut up, faggot.
Who gives a crap? I don't care.
All right, America, go to the YouTube right now. Skag free, whoever he is.
Duct tape all over the place. It's a disgrace.
All right, go. In 5, 4, 3. I can't do it. We'll do it live.
Fuck it, we'll do it live!
Hello and welcome to the show. This is Matt Christiansen Live, a proud duct tape production for Sunday, July 19th, 2026. Thank you for tuning in. Sitting shotgun tonight in his usual Sunday seat is the highly regarded Matt Palumbo. Welcome back.
Good to be back.
Saddle up, partner.
Great guest tonight. Guy Relford is a self-defense attorney from Indiana. He actually represented, he's represented many people in self-defense cases, but notably Elisjsha Dicken, who is the guy who made those miracle shots to stop that mass shooter at the Indiana Mall in 2022. But Guy's going to help us break down that Florida Walmart parking lot shooting from a few weeks ago, because many people have strong opinions on both sides. We'll see how Mr. Relford analyzes it.
And we learned from the interview he's a big fan of the show, so he's even perhaps more highly regarded than I with that background.
Well, he did give us highly regarded praise, and we appreciate that.
Very good.
Also, to close the show tonight, I have an exciting announcement. And you can actually already see it in the title, so I'm not really revealing anything other than details, but thanks to a listener who runs his own retro video game company, tonight we will be unveiling my very own video game, Matt Christiansen Media Mayhem. Now, it's a retro game. Don't think this is going to be the next Grand Theft Auto or Assassin's Creed or something, but it is very fun and very funny, and we're even going to get to watch Matt Palumbo play it.
Try to play it.
But don't worry, we're not doing it live. We did this before, because this would have been a tech disaster if we tried to do this live. But we do have a video of Matt playing it for you to check out. Before all that, in the news for discussion tonight, Iran kills, I think it's up to 4 U.S. troops now, 2 in Jordan. Actually, I think it's 3 in Jordan now. It sounds like 1 in Iraq. There was 1 missing, but it sounds like that is one of the casualties in Jordan. Still no progress in the negotiations recently. And how the question must be asked, how is Iran still killing our guys when their military has been decimated? How is this possible? We took out the entirety of their military capabilities effectively, I was told, over recent weeks, and yet they're still killing our guys over there. So it looks like the Middle East script is back in action, unfortunately. And it turns out Graham Plattner was actually the best Maine Democrat there is. They really should have stuck with Graham.
Yeah.
My favorite nickname is Ma'am Plattner for Ashley Webb. We'll get into Ashley Webb. But I watched both hours of the debate, and Ashley Webb is the meme character, the meme candidate to come out of those debates. But there was a lot of idiocy and nonsense from a bunch of candidates on that stage. And it sounds like the guy they're going to pick, you're going to explain for us.
Go through it.
He's sounds like he's got some potentially Graham-like problems of his own. I don't know if he's accused of rape, but that could be a matter of time. Just wait till the accuser comes out.
He only has one accusation of assaulting a woman. So he is an improvement, I guess by those standards. But,
has she interviewed on CNN yet, or are they saving that?
I think they're probably saving that.
Okay.
And one of the other women running, who obviously is not going to be the nominee, at the debate, you probably saw this. She was asked like one of her qualifications, and she said, "Well, I was the only one up here who's faced off against Susan Collins before." And it was one of the worst electoral defeats in Maine history.
I didn't catch that part.
It was 2-1 in favor of Collins in a blue state. So that's, that was her qualification, was losing by 30 plus points to Susan Collins.
It was still better than Ashley Webb's answer. I confess I watched those debates on double speed while doing some other stuff, so I didn't pay full attention, but I got some clips that are worth discussing.
Good.
Before we get into all of that, got to say hello to our featured listener-owned business for the evening. That's our friends at Elisjsha. Most of us use too many different apps just to stay organized. Tasks in one place, notes in another, habits somewhere else, and calendars everywhere. That frustration led listener and chatter of this show, Tortuga, to build Elisjsha. Elisjsha is an all-in-one productivity platform that brings goals, tasks, habits, events, reminders, notes, and project management all together in a single system. Core features are free for individuals with a local-first philosophy and human-readable files you control and can sync yourself. Optional cloud features add collaboration, shared workspaces, syncing, and team tools. Recent additions include customer and project intake forms that let clients submit work directly into your calendar. Smart scheduling preferences for automatic task placement, Sidewinder, a dedicated sidebar notes companion app, and optional AI support, including local AI that can work directly with your schedule files or connections to services like Claude or ChatGPT. Elisjsha is available now on Apple devices with Windows, Linux, and Android versions coming soon. Beta testers are currently being accepted with a limited number of spots available. Learn more at Elisjsha.is. It is absolutely free to get started with Elisjsha, and you can use promo code MCListener for 10% off advanced features for life. That's promo code MCListener at Elisjsha.is. Find all the information on all our special offers at mattchristiansenmedia.com/deals. Deals by listeners for listeners. Now, I know I've been saying basically the same thing for something like 2 weeks now. So now I'm just resigned to the fact that the Superchat system is a little bit screwed up.
They don't know what the fuck they're doing.
I can still read them. They should still appear on the stream, but it's not working the way that I wanted or that it's supposed to work. So just for the time being, assume that system is a little bit janky. We are working on a fix, and we will get it as soon as we can. Now, I regret the interruption to the system. Hopefully on the other side of this, we're going to have something that's smooth and cool. But rest assured, no matter where you super chat, YouTube, Rumble, Tippy Stream, we will still read them. We won't miss them. And if we do miss them for some reason, if we don't read them, you can email me for a full refund. Apology for the interruption. But getting into the news, Matt,
yes.
Recall obese Detroit female rapper Dank Demoss.
That's a huge bitch.
How could I not?
She's the one who sued Lyft for their inability to lift her last year. She was too fat for the ride. So the driver refused, and she collected a payout, undisclosed as far as we're aware. But remember, she had that fat van that we wanted? It looked like she used her money to buy a specially outfitted van that she could ride around in.
The amount, I assume, is probably equal to the amount of money it costs to fight a frivolous lawsuit.
It could be pretty high.
She probably made like $50K from this at least.
Well,
but,
it's tough times. People got to figure out a plan to provide for their family. If it doesn't work out for me, I could just move to Michigan, gorge myself on DiGiorno's until I get Dank Demoss size, and then find someone who discriminates against me on the basis of my obesity. And boom, I can collect.
My grift of choice would be sort of a revenge grift in defense of Masterpiece Cake Shop. You know, was it Jack Feld, the guy who won't bake the gay wedding cakes? I'm going to do that, but on like a Muslim cake shop, just to be like, see, liberals, how do you feel now when it's one of your people?
Are there any Muslim cake shops? There must be. Speaking of Michigan, there's got to be some somewhere in Dearborn. Someone's baking the Muslim wedding cakes in Greater Michigan. We got to figure out who that is. So we could move to Michigan together, and we both have a plan to get rich. This is genius.
Yeah.
But without getting too far sidetracked here.
We got to go into the Matt is gay thing really deep into that, unfortunately.
There's only one way to go into that, and that's very deep. As always, okay.
Anyway, next story.
This is about Dank Demoss, at least for now. She posted a video of herself rehearsing her dance routine. And you might wonder, how is it even possible for her to dance? Well, it really is not. Are they eating it from the back, though? Is there any angle at which one could? Now, even Jabba is like, okay, bitch, get it together.
Too much.
Come on. This is too crazy for a Tatooine cantina.
Man.
Now, she has actual drumsticks for legs. I mean, look at the side by side here. Actual drumsticks. Maybe hams. I don't know. But her ankles are doing, that's an engineering marvel. It's medically and physiologically fascinating.
Yeah.
And I don't overlook this guy in the pink on the left. Who the hell is that? And what is he even doing? Usually, I don't know if he's one of her dancers. Usually dancers, if you want to dance well, you got to be fit. What is it? Why is he wearing that? What is he doing here? I have a lot of questions about this display, but moving on. You got any other Dank Demoss observations?
I mean, her lyrics imply she has a sex life. Is that how?
Yeah.
Why? Who's enabling this?
Maybe this guy in the pink. Maybe he's settled for...
You think he's not gay? I don't know. I feel like you have to be gay to be a black dancer. Or
even if you are, even if you're, that would be an odd outfit for someone shaming Scott Wiener on the San Francisco streets. Okay, that's how weird and gay that outfit is. So I don't know what his deal is, but he's there for a reason.
Yeah. Well,
now, Dank Demoss, pretty embarrassing. If anybody could top Dank Demoss in embarrassment, it could be Minnesota Governor Tim Walz. Always impresses with his ability to say the worst possible things politically.
I've become friends with school shooters.
And do the worst possible things politically, and somehow still remain in political power. In Minnesota, Lou Vang was, I say was, not because he's dead, just because he's not in Minnesota anymore. He's a 42-year-old Laotian. Is it Laotian?
Laos?
Isn't that a King of the Hill bit? What ocean? Because the neighbor, the Asian guy in King of the Hill is from Laos, isn't he?
Is he? I actually never seen the show. I mean, I've seen memes based on it, but I've never seen the actual.
Great show, but it's been a long. I didn't watch the reboot. I haven't taken a look at that though. People I think like it, but anyway, this 42-year-old Laotian, Lou Vang, he's a convicted sex offender. He repeatedly raped a 10-year-old girl between 2002 and 2004. And he told authorities back then, upon his arrest, quote, "It's a cultural thing to marry and have sex with girls as young as 12. Now, I don't think that's necessarily a cultural thing. And even if it was, that ain't the culture in this country, dude. We have laws against that sort of thing. And I noticed he took the long end of that age range. She was 12, but when it started, she was 10. Not that it's like a huge, why did he? It's a cultural thing for 12-year-olds? All right, whatever.
Jeez.
On June 10th, the Minnesota Board of Pardons, which includes Governor Tim Walz, Attorney General Keith Ellison, and others, granted clemency to Vang. That was highly criticized, although I guess the victim forgave him. So
I don't care.
Is that? Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. Despite the pardon, Marco Rubio and the State Department deported Vang earlier this month. And the governor remained quiet about his decision to pardon this guy, a convicted sex predator. He didn't talk about the deportation either until Tuesday, when Walz said to media that this deportation doesn't make us safer and it's unfair to judge people based on their worst day.
20 years ago, Vang, who is Hmong, was convicted of sexual assault involving a minor. Now, last week, the man who had been living in St. Paul was deported to Laos. The White House saying Secretary of State Marco Rubio terminated Vang's legal status. Vang received a 30-year probation sentence in 2006 after he was convicted of felony sex crimes against a girl under the age of 13. During last month's Board of Pardons meeting, Vang took responsibility for his crime, and in a letter, Vang's victim said she had forgiven him for his actions. While speaking to the news media today, the governor was asked about the 42-year-old father's recent deportation.
Did that make us any safer? Did that make the children that are left behind any more stable? Did it improve the idea that we can't all be judged by our worst day? And I want to be very clear, these are horrific crimes. They often are.
Walz saying today Vang's pardon was not about immigration reform, noting the board denied other pardons to people facing immigration-related issues on the same day.
Listen, I'm fine with not judging someone by their worst day if, like, they're freaking out at some, like, person behind the counter at an airport because their flight got canceled or something, but this is obviously considerably worse than that. And then when he says, does it make us safer to deport a rapist? Yes.
Yeah. Well,
in what world does it not?
Your point there, too, it was not a bad day. It was a bad 2 years.
2 years. And he's probably done this with other girls and stuff, too. And the fact that the girl forgives him, I mean, I guess good for her mental health that she can do that, but ultimately it shouldn't make a difference when it comes to I don't know, the consequences people face.
It's a preposterous defense against any crime. I mean, it would be silly in the context of a ticket. Okay, I'm not saying you're a terrible person if you get a ticket, but there are laws against speeding or parking improperly or whatever you did, and that has to be dealt with. All right. If your worst day, what if your worst day is friends with Tim Walz?
I've become friends with school shooters.
I think you should be judged on your worst day if it involved mass murder, and long-term rape of a child is right up there with that crime. Some might say worse. I'm not in the business of ranking these things, but it's a very serious crime. And in no other we especially in the context of serious crimes, we say, that it's not about judging someone on their worst day. It's saying that is a serious crime that needs justice. That's the premise of our entire justice system. We have to bring these things to justice. Yeah, it was a bad day or a bad 2 years, but a crime was committed, and you need to be held accountable for that, which, yes, includes removal from our country. Yeah. And by the way, that removal order, if you heard there, was from 2006. Yeah. So he got a bonus 20 years. I get it. Correct. He has kids now and a family, and he's 42 now. So when he was doing this, he was in his early 20s when this girl was 10. But just because you built a family in the meantime doesn't mean we have an obligation to keep you here. Mm-hmm. Take your family to Laos. Yeah. Godspeed. Actually not. I hope that your plane crashes on the flight over there. But whatever, get out of here.
It's just bizarre that even something like rape can, well, the reaction will fall into that friend-enemy distinction. And that liberals in the mid or the early 2010s effectively hallucinated a campus rape epidemic because they wanted to pin it on fratty white guys that they could then use for whatever left-wing goal. And it was a complete myth. But they were fine inventing a rape epidemic there because it was white people that would be, the consequence of that narrative. If it's an illegal alien of color, then all of a sudden it's not a big deal. If it's an illegal alien of, well, I mean, there's a million other cases just like this where they just don't care about it at all. So it's just a weird issue to have selective outrage over when you're when
no
it's like
limits if you play for their team, at least perceivably.
Correct.
All right.
Sorry, one last one. Even with like Graham Plattner, the reason that the last woman who did him in didn't come forward is because she thought it would hurt his campaign. Yeah. Then when it seemed like his campaign was going to implode anyway, she's like, well, I guess I should come forward because it'll help the next Democrat. Like,
I can be the final death blow. Yeah,
correct.
Whatever. Well, I also have a Mitch McConnell update.
He died.
Maybe. We still don't have proof of life beyond that hospital room photo last week. Now, recall Mitch McConnell has been hospitalized since mid-June after what he says is a fall, or his office says. Laura Loomer and others are saying they have sources saying he's brain dead and he's not coming back.
If Loomer is saying so, he's probably alive and well.
Well, not that I consider the source to be the most trustworthy, but it's not even that I trust everything Laura Loomer says. It's that it's very Scott Jennings has very coherent phone calls with Mitch McConnell, but Mitch McConnell won't call into CNN. That's a joke. Mitch McConnell won't make a video where we can watch him talking sensibly. Okay. And it's not just us who are being left in the dark. Okay. Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear spoke with Katie Couric, and he's a Democrat. All right. Maybe he has like a political axe to grind. Could be. But Andy Beshear spoke with Katie Couric this week. He says he was in the dark for a month like everybody else until McConnell's office released that photo and that statement recently. But it's not just that. He said he was hearing that Mitch McConnell was dead. He says, quote unquote, agencies told him that McConnell had passed, but he doesn't specify what agencies.
There are constituents which deserve honesty and transparency. It had been a month before anything had been put out, not even an official statement from Senator McConnell. In fact, I'd gotten 2 calls from different agencies, not state agencies, suggesting he'd passed. So this rampant speculation that was out there, it needed to end. People deserve to know what was going on.
So he got calls from agencies. When he says not state agencies, I don't know what the hell he's talking about, what these non-government agencies might even be. My position remains that Mitch McConnell is in fact dead or incapacitated, and his office is running out the clock into early August so they can avoid a special election. And in August, Mitch McConnell will be dead or stepping down. But what do you think he means by non-state agencies who would be calling him saying this?
I don't know what those would possibly be. But it is very likely there's something severely wrong in that there were numerous freezing incidents in the past few years where
he's fallen all over the Capitol
talking, and then it would just for minutes. So there's obviously something wrong. As for the calls of his death, I was thinking, could it have been like a game of telephone where someone says it's really, really bad, and then in that chain of that message spreading, it gets interpreted as he's dead, and that gets passed on to Beshear. I really have no idea there, but it has to be something bad. I know that, I guess it depends on how much you trust the Washington Post, but they had done a fact check on the proof of life photo, and their take was that it was authentic. So
wow, so they they did some kind of analysis to see if it was AI or Photoshop or something.
The newspaper you could see in front of him had a relatively current. Yeah, I think you mentioned.
Yeah,
had a current headline.
It appeared to be that day. This was last weekend. It appeared to be Sunday's sports section on the Washington Post.
Yeah. So, I think he is alive, but there's something definitely off here, and this is not even the first case. We actually near the district over from where I live, it's a guy named Tom Keene is a representative, a Republican. His dad was once governor of New Jersey in the 80s, but he disappeared for a few months, no explanation. I met his campaign manager at some random GOP event and was trying to pry information. He had no idea what was going on. The only evidence he was alive is that he was still filing and signing his stock disclosure reports.
Of course.
So that's
probably what Mitch is doing too. There you get busting out the old Joe Biden auto pen to deal with that.
Yeah, but he just returned to Congress and he said that he was depressed and that's why he was out of.
Oh, I did see that.
He was gone.
Yeah.
So I don't buy it, but weird stuff.
We have an unfortunate Iran update.
Why the fuck is the gas so high, bitch?
On Friday, 2 U.S. service members were killed, and, the early report was another is missing. It now sounds like there were 3 killed after Iran fired ballistic missiles and drones at U.S. forces in Jordan. The identities and the branches of these troops not yet released, as is the practice. You don't get the identities until the day after the families have been notified. There was an additional update yesterday from CENTCOM announcing another death, another U.S. service member killed in northern Iraq. And this one sounds less direct. This person, they say, was killed during a controlled demolition of an unexploded, downed Iranian drone. So trying to deal with an explosive, and apparently it was not dealt with, or it exploded accidentally, something like that. Killed one U.S. service member, injured another. And as part of this update, yesterday, CENTCOM said they've also found unidentified remains after a search at that prior site in Jordan. So presumably that makes 4 U.S. deaths over the weekend related to Iranian strikes on U.S. forces in the Middle Eastern region. And that would be potentially 18 U.S. military deaths in this conflict throughout this year. It would be the first deaths, or they are the first deaths, because at least 3 of these are confirmed. First death since the Memorandum of Understanding and the ceasefire. Commenting on these deaths, Trump said, quote, "We hate to see it happen. They were in service to this country. They'll fight to the death, but never allowing Iran to have a nuclear weapon." But speaking of those nuclear talks, there's still no progress in the negotiations. Apparently, we are just trading explosives at each other. Oil prices climbed all week in response to the slowed traffic in the Strait of Hormuz, which Iran says is closed, and Trump says the U.S. will keep open by force. The familiar Middle Eastern script looks to be repeating. What is advertised as quick and easy is never really that quick and easy. But of course, God bless these troops and their families. And yeah, the whole thing just sucks. Like I said, I don't know what to believe about the nuclear capabilities, because we destroyed their nuclear capabilities, but also we can never let them have a nuclear bomb. Same thing with their missile capabilities, though. We have decimated their military. They have no chance. They're going to be forced to come to the table, and yet they're blowing up our people over the weekend. So what is the truth of them? Clearly, it is not what we are being sold from Donald Trump and the Defense Department. It just isn't. I want success in this. I want the president to be successful. I want my country to win. But what we've been told is obviously not true when they're still killing our people.
Yeah, I mean, they're doing a horrible job selling it to the public as well, and that, it is these abstract claims like, we've decimated the nuclear capabilities, as you were saying, but I think we've done that like 3 times by now. So is it we didn't really decimate them, or we did, but they rebuilt them? And what real tangible gains have been made? I mean, the only way to really defend this is to make the argument of, well, if we... I guess taking it for their word for it that we really are destroying their nuclear capabilities, to make the argument that, okay, we lost 18 troops, but hey, they were going to kill 18 million if they could,
that's what they're going with.
So that's what they're going to have to argue.
Yeah, that's what they're arguing. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's a horrible situation all around. And,
So I'm sure we'll have plenty more Iran talk coming up for the foreseeable future. It seems like this is just the weekly thing now. Anyway, God bless those families. All the best to those families, and hopefully we can find some kind of resolution here. But let's get into the Maine Democratic Senate debate. Now, after Graham Plattner quit the race, Maine Democrats are now doing a primary speed run, essentially, to be the Senate candidate for that seat. In fact, 2 of these people already quit, like within the last few hours.
Yeah.
Now, when Graham Plattner was the candidate, everyone was asking, is this really the best Maine can do? Is this really the finest person they can offer? Yes, it is.
Yes.
We can say that for sure. Graham Plattner is definitively the best Maine can do. They made a big mistake by kicking him out. Even the New York Times headline, replacing Plattner isn't easy. How hard should it be, though? There were 8 candidates. Sorry, go ahead.
If Plattner runs as if he rebrands as like an alt-right candidate, I'm going to vote for him.
Oh, he has rebrand. Have you seen the rebrand? I don't want to spoil it.
I actually have not, but go through it. Don't spoil it, but go,
okay, we'll get to that. He's rebranded. He's not far away. Don't worry. There were 8 candidates. It's down to, I don't know, 6 or something now. There were at least 8 candidates participating in the Thursday night debate, and it was broken into 2 groups of 4, 2 separate hours. And all everyone wants to talk about is the tranny candidate, Ashley Webb. And yes, we're going to oblige. There's plenty to talk about with Ashley Webb. Nobody had heard of this person before this person took the stage, but there was apparently some confusion. I appreciate that Scott Pressler posted to clarify that is, in fact, not me.
Nice.
Scott, some might have thought that Scott put on a little weight. Maybe. And I know he likes his jeans and cowboy boots. I've never seen him wear a muumuu or, whatever this dress is. But thank you, Scott, for that one. But okay, are we sure that Graham Plattner has left the race? Is it possible that Graham Plattner has remained in the race with Mrs. Doubtfire's strategy? As posted on X by Adam Francisco, the AI face swap is fairly compelling.
Bingo.
Wow.
This is all AI creation. Like, that's an AI Graham and I think an AI Ashley. Yeah. But I don't know, man.
It looks very... We need to get Candace Owens on this stat.
The Egyptian planes clearly have a role in this. We just have to figure out what. And the steakhouse receipts too. We have to track those down. All right. So transgender guy Ashley Webb is a newcomer candidate, and my favorite clip of the entire debate was Ashley Webb saying something very simple.
What's going on in this country is not right.
He's absolutely right.
I've never been more convinced that what's going on in this country is not right.
What's going on in this country is not right.
Thank you.
I agree for the exact opposite reason.
Yeah, we maybe don't overlap on what the reasons for this country's poor direction may be, but it was definitively stated, and I appreciate that. Now, of course, Ashley's view, to your point, is that what's not right about this country is that he might get assaulted in the men's bathroom.
With the trans community, like, we're being dehumanized. They say that we want to hurt people. I don't want to hurt anybody. I just want to use the bathroom. And if they want me to use the men's room, I will, but I don't want to be assaulted.
Why would you be assaulted? Why would I have no desire to punch a guy in a dress.
Well,
why would I just don't get why we would? Like, wouldn't a woman who's creeped out be more likely to mace you or something?
I think so. There's got to be stats on that somewhere.
Probably. Somewhere.
And if anyone should be at risk of assault by men, it probably should be fellow men, not women. That seems like a fair deal.
I think so.
The moment that went viral is Ashley Webb asked what his qualifications for the office of senator are, and he said he writes songs, and he added that he's very, very angry.
Ashley Webb, what qualifications do you have to serve in the U.S. Senate?
Oh, I ran for office several times. Didn't win, but I did run. And then I'm a songwriter, and then I write my own books, and then it's
highly regarded.
My transparency. I wouldn't lie to the people, and I wouldn't deceive the people like we're being deceived right now. Like, we get lied to, smoke and mirrors, like what's going on with ICE, pretending like these victims did something wrong. Like, that's unacceptable. And I suppose the biggest thing is, like, I'm just an angry citizen now, and if I got elected, I'd be an angry senator, and I think that would probably be their worst nightmare.
Well, I also write my own books, and I've unsuccessfully run for local office. So
there you go.
I'm
Run in
qualified
Maine.
for Senate. Yeah, I should run in Maine.
As far as his anger, do you think he's friends with Tim Walz?
And school shooters, probably.
Well,
I
that's
don't know.
what I mean, yeah.
trannies do commit the most school shootings per capita, at least. It seems that way anecdotally. I don't know if anyone's done the analysis, but I feel like it's one of those things where just one could make them the most per capita because there's so few of them.
That is part of it. The data are difficult to analyze just because the sample is so small. But of course, the irony, as everyone has observed, talking about transparency and smoke and mirrors, well, I guess he puts the trans in transparency. That's fair. But the irony of being a man pretending to be a woman while saying that he would never deceive anybody. He's a man wearing a dress. Okay.
But to me, are we really deceived, though?
Okay, so he does deceive in other ways. Now, his entire life, I think he's deceiving himself. I mean, that's the thing. Like, does anybody look at that and think, wow, what a nice older or middle-aged woman? No, of course not, to your point. But does he believe it? Apparently so. And so the deception is not just his public presentation. It's what he's convincing himself in his own mind. And I want to get to that in a moment because he has all sorts of areas of public deception beyond just his wardrobe choice or his choice of hairstyle. But there was one other thing about Ashley Webb. At one point, the candidates were asked about Medicare for all or single-payer healthcare or just government-provided healthcare. They all say they support this proposal, which is pretty common for Democrats. But Ashley Webb added that he is on Medicare.
You just said you're for Medicare for all. Is everyone on this panel? Dan, no?
Yeah, I mean,
okay. Just checking. Just checking. That's 8 for 8 with the candidates tonight.
That's amazing.
I'm actually on Medicare.
Oh, okay. Well, there you have it.
Great.
All right. Now, the question is, why is he on Medicare? Now, we know he's 40-something years old. Andy No has the identity on Ashley Webb. He's born in 83, I believe. So he's early 40s. Now, Medicare 41. Generally is for people 65 and older and disabled people. So is Ashley Webb
Medicaid? He must have been.
Either he's disabled or he means Medicaid, and that would just mean he's low income. I guess the book sales are not great.
No, I can relate.
Okay.
Yeah. I felt a lot in common with this person.
Okay. And it's not, they have similar names. I understand. So it's how anybody could confuse Medicare and Medicaid, how the layperson could, I suppose. Yeah. It's a little more concerning in the context of the discussion Medicare for all that he would confuse those two things. But okay, maybe he's just a low-income Medicaid guy.
functionally speaking, though, Medicaid for all and Medicare for all would be identical, would they not?
Just that Medicaid is a state federal program. It varies by state. Medicare for all is a national system.
Okay, but they would be very, very similar. But.
Yeah, government in the sense they're both government provided health care, or insurance at least. Now, I mentioned the deception. As far as the deception that goes beyond just the display that we saw at the debate, again, Andy No has the story. Ashley Webb is James Charles Webb, is the name with which he was born, August 1983. He wrote a memoir. This is the books he writes, at least one of them is a memoir. And in this book, Ashley Webb used an AI-generated image to represent himself. The book is called I Am Ashley, but that Ashley is certainly not this Ashley. And I'm a little bit confused. This Ashley, I don't understand why she's wearing a nightie at the check stand, although she's a very beautiful Ashley. Good for her. But it's the image itself is very bizarre. What are you doing? I don't understand what this is supposed to represent.
Dude, to have the self-confidence of a trans woman has got to be incredible.
Yeah.
I
don't know. I don't know if
I guarantee you when he looks in a mirror, that is what he sees.
Well,
there's something weird with these people.
Speaking of deceiving yourself, but he has. It's not just AI created Ashley. He also has a Reddit record, as you would expect for people who buy into this sort of delusion. Reddit is a haven for this sort of thing. Ashley Webb, in a post a year ago, claimed to be a 26-year-old 5'6" woman asking people for help identifying if there are problems with his ovaries. Now, Ashley Webb, I don't know how tall he is, but he was the tallest guy in that group of four on the stage. And there were other men.
6 foot something, yeah.
He's got to be 6 feet tall. Ashley Webb has also claimed to menstruate anally.
That's disgusting.
I saw.
In other Reddit posts, he described that he started getting his monthly period in his 20s and still does. He says he was misdiagnosed with appendicitis or kidney stones by quack doctors who clearly didn't understand what his condition was. So this guy has had a bleeding ass for some time, and he thinks it makes him a woman, apparently.
All right.
But that's all I got on Ashley Webb. I have plenty more to say on these other candidates, but you have any other Ashley thoughts before we move on?
No, but I do have. I mean, my story tonight is on Troy Jackson. If you want to transition into that next,
let's save until the rest of these candidates, because actually the thing about Troy is he has the strategy of, I think I'm just going to shut the hell up and let everyone else self-eliminate.
Yeah.
It seems like it worked because he just didn't say anything interesting, so I don't have any clips of him.
He's gotten almost all the delegates. It's like 90+% as of we're speaking.
I didn't realize they were awarding them already that quickly.
So the convention, I believe, is this week or next. It's just ones that have voiced support ahead of it.
Got it. So they can publicly say ahead of the vote.
So it's going to go for him, no question.
As far as these other candidates, which again are kind of irrelevant now, but I do think this is a good sort of sample of the Democrat Party, even if they're not going to win. First and foremost, debate moderators asked them all the most important question.
Did Graham Plattner rape you?
And nobody said yes. So Graham is off the hook. Okay. Now, actually, the funny thing was these candidates are very willing to praise Graham Plattner. They didn't turn on Graham Plattner. They all love Graham Plattner. They were asked what they agree with Graham about, and two of the candidates leaned right in and created funny sound bites.
The single idea from Graham Plattner that spoke most deeply to me is that he's right.
Graham Plattner was right. Graham Plattner was right.
So Graham is very based on Germany and rape and self-defense. We all agree. That's nice that our country can come together on something once again. Now, as rough as Ashley Webb was, these other candidates were not drastically better. I mean, they weren't men in dresses, but these are not great candidates. So Dan Kleban is a small brewery owner, and he was asked about his foreign policy experience. And of course, he bashed Trump because that's what they all do. But then he was pressed, and he says that he buys German brewing equipment.
What experience do you have, each of you, in the field of defense and national security? Dan Kleban.
Yeah, I mean, look, I understand that it's extreme. America plays a unique role in the world. And I fear that the Trump administration, well, I know that the Trump administration, along with Congress's rubber stamp, is eroding America's position in the world. We're supposed to be the shining beacon on a hill. And increasingly, we are disenfranchising and alienating our allies in Europe, in the Pacific, And all that's doing is weakening the United States. President Trump.
I'm going to jump in. Yeah. That's a criticism of the Trump administration, which is valid as an answer to another question. Yeah. But the question was, what is your experience in the fields of defense and national security?
Well, I don't come from, I wasn't in the military and I wasn't in the defense industrial complex. I'm a small brewery owner. But I understand, we have materials that are sourced from around the world. German brewing equipment is the best brewing equipment brewed in the world, built in the world. I understand how international trade is vital to a thriving U.S. economy.
So Graham was right. We need a warmer relationship with Germany, first of all.
You beat me to that joke. Sorry. Anyway, I had a different version of it, but whatever. Anyway, they're all disasters. Although I will say, people who run for office usually are. There's always something slightly wrong with anyone who actually wants that job.
I'm very intrigued when he talked about disenfranchising Europeans. How can we disenfranchise more Europeans? That sounds great.
Yeah. The whole rubber stamp comment makes no sense because there's always a handful of Republicans that have been sinking everything Trump wants in the House.
Yes.
And
if you don't want a rubber stamp, keep Susan Collins in there.
Pretty much. And then the SAVE Act has 80+% support and they can't pass it. So stupid.
Kleban also made factually false statements about gun laws. He was asked about his opinion on gun rights.
I'm a proud gun owner. We have a long history in the state of Maine of responsible gun ownership. Thousands of Mainers own firearms and use them responsibly. I do think there is room for common sense gun reforms, universal background checks, closing down the gun show loophole, getting rid of ghost guns, where someone can buy a gun and ship it into another state and it wouldn't be able to be tracked.
Okay, there is no gun show loophole, regardless of the location of sale. In fact, I think Matt Palumbo has a great book debunking that whole thing. But
I feel like I must have written on that. But
Debunk This, I think, talks about that. Look it up.
I do have a section on gun stuff. I can't remember if I touched that in particular, but it is true. Maine doesn't really have a gun problem, despite a lot of gun ownership. I wonder.
There was that one mass shooting in Lewiston
I wonder what socioeconomic factors are at play there.
Purely
socioeconomic factors.
Now, regardless of the location of sale, anyone who's in the business of selling guns has to be federally licensed, and they must conduct background checks. What he's talking about is not a special gun show place where you can get away with anything. He's talking about private sale, which can happen anywhere. It doesn't have to happen at a gun show. That would be neighbor to neighbor, for example. I'm not in the business of selling guns, but let's say I decide I want to sell a gun to my neighbor or just give it to him. That's a private transfer within a state. Okay. The federal government doesn't have anything to say about that unless I knowingly give it to a person who is a prohibited person. He's a felon. He's a drug user, whatever. But when they talk about the gun show loophole stuff, that's nonsense. There's nothing special about gun shows. What they mean is they don't want you to be able to get a gun from your neighbor if he wants to give you one. They want the feds involved in that. But as far as ghost guns, he made a pretty amazing claim. Well, we can't have ghost guns where people can just ship them across state lines and it's fine. No, it's not. Everything about that is illegal. Literally everything. Okay. That's a federal felony. What you just described.
If that was a loophole, you just ship it across straight lines, no gun control.
Well, yeah, they've already cracked out on the ghost gun kits, but let's say you make your own firearm at home without a prefabricated kit. You have a constitutional Second Amendment right to do that. You cannot put that thing in a box and send it to your friend in the other state. That is an illegal interstate transfer, federal felony. You will be busted if you do that. Whether you got the gun at a dealer and there's a serial number on it from a manufacturer, or whether you made it from scratch on a 3D printer in your house and there's no serial number. The transfer that he just talked about is 100% federally illegal and will get you in prison with a massive fine if you're caught doing it. But yes, one more federal law from our trusty Senator Kleban, and it'll all be over soon. Now,
but the last thing, though, the whole universal background checks, where can you get a gun without a background check?
Only from private sale within a state. So again, if I gave it to my neighbor or something. But if anyone who's in the business of selling guns must be federally licensed and conduct background checks. Any interstate transfer must be handled through federally licensed dealers. They'll conduct a background check. It is just private transfer within a state. That's it.
Okay. And suppose I'm selling to my neighbor. He has a domestic violence,
if you know about that
I don't know about.
If you don't know about it, you might be off the hook. But him
owning it would then be a crime itself
for
not
him.
The transfer. Okay,
Yeah,
that's what I
for him.
assumed. Okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
But it as a practical matter, a lot of people do just go through a dealer anyway so they can cover themselves, because if that guy's a prohibited person and you transferred to him, if there's any shred of evidence that you knew, you could be on the hook for it.
Yeah, it's a lot of
so a lot of people just protect themselves anyway.
Yeah.
But another guy in the race is Jordan Wood. And he's a gay guy and the former chief of staff for Katie Porter, and yet he somehow lived to tell the story.
Get out of my fucking shot.
Wood was practically debating himself. Now listen to this guy say that we need to tax more. We need to collect more revenue through taxation, revenue into the federal government, but also all the federal government does is waste our tax money.
We need historic tax reform that makes the wealthiest pay their fair share. But I also think we need to be very serious about cutting spending. When I graduated high school, our federal budget was half of what it is today. I have not met a single person that thinks our government works twice as good as it did when I was graduating high school. So there needs to be real reform to get a more efficient government that works for people. I was in Congress during COVID when Congress passed multiple times the largest spending bills in the country's history. A program that at first seemed good, the PPP program, reached almost $1 trillion in spending. I have never lost more faith in a spending program in this government to see how much abuse and fraud took place there. But there are decisions and votes that happen every day where if we had a Congress that was really focused on serving and representing the people, we would not waste that money because we pay for it.
This is like a Tea Party candidate. What the fuck?
But his solution is tax
out
more.
The tax hike part, everything he said is right wing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I saw, this actually relates to this, a poll recently of supporters for Medicare for All, and about 80% of them believe you could fund universal health care only by taxing billionaires.
Yeah, good luck.
Which, you know, in Scandinavia, you're paying at least 50 or 60%, so it's not really going to be happening. But that is the mindset they're coming to. They really think that's all you need to raise, and it's never going to be their taxes and all that.
I can't believe his logic there. So, okay, so when I graduated high school, the federal budget was half what it is now, and now it's doubled, but I don't feel like the government is providing twice the value, so we better quadruple it, and then we'll finally get a good deal from the government. What the hell are you talking about, dude?
Weird stuff, man.
How do they not listen to themselves when they talk? But anyway.
I guess not.
There was also Shenna Bellows, the current Secretary of State. I couldn't remember where I'd seen this lady.
She's the one I mentioned who ran against Susan Collins and lost badly.
So she did run previously.
Apparently in Maine, their statewide offices are picked by the legislature, not the voters. So you can get crazy people in more easily because it's the party that's basically dictating that. Yeah.
Well, I've seen this lady because she was the Secretary of State. Remember, there were several states. Maine was one of them. They tried to block Trump from the state ballot in 2024 because he's an insurrectionist and the 14th Amendment doesn't allow that. Okay. But so she was one of those. And of course, Trump actually was on the ballot in Maine, and it didn't really matter. Now, Shenna Bellows actually dropped out of the race earlier today because the guy you're going to tell us about, Troy Jackson, is gaining momentum. But before she did, in the debate on Thursday, she was calling for court packing.
Hell yeah. I'd expand the Supreme Court. We need to. Because the same rot and corruption that we have seen because of the lack of term limits in Congress is the same corruption that we have seen with lifelong appointments to the Supreme Court.
Okay, I do respect the Beto energy, though.
Hell yes.
Hell yeah. I would pack the Supreme Court. I'd pack the fuck out of it. Thanks, Shenna.
I mean, the problem, though, with packing it is you don't actually have a Supreme Court then, because you'll just, whatever side takes power is going to add more seats to have a guaranteed majority, and then so on and so forth. And we're going to have like 1,000 Supreme Court justices a few decades from now. So
it's similar logic to the prior guy there. We have so much corruption in DC. It's politically partisan. It's corrupt.
Spend more.
I know. Let's put political partisans on the court and just expand that thing to infinity and beyond. And that will deal with the partisanship and the corruption, how or why. What she should conclude is term limits for Supreme Court justices, which I actually am warm to, if you want to talk about that. But no, it's not a good idea to pack the court with political partisans to make it a super legislature, which it is already largely served as for the better part of the last 100 years anyway.
Correct.
But then there's David Costello, and this is the last guy. I know this has been something of a parade of pain here, but I'm just trying to get a sense of what this party's all about. And then we'll get to the guy who's actually apparently going to win the nomination after Graham Plattner. But David Costello is some kind of environmental activist. I guess he forgot to watch Schoolhouse Rock or read the Federalist Papers because he's complaining about how undemocratic the Senate and the Supreme Court are.
Ban gerrymandering, ban the filibuster. You know, look at the United States Senate. The Senate structurally is obscenely undemocratic. That's why we've got a Supreme Court the way it is. It needs to be revised.
Yeah, they're undemocratic by design. That's the point. Democracy was never the plan. Securing the rights of the people, the rule of law are the point. And the Senate, as we were discussing on Wednesday, is supposed to represent the states, not the people. And the day-to-day rules and laws that you deal with, they're supposed to be handled by your states. Supreme Court is supposed to do what the law requires, not what public opinion wants. But he's not going to win.
I do support expanding the House of Representatives in that if you go back to when our country was founded, we had one representative for every 30,000 citizens, which I think would be around 11,000 or 12,000 representatives today. Obviously, that's probably way too much, but if we had even like 1,000 or 2,000, I don't think that would be the craziest thing in the world in terms of A, I think it would be harder to gerrymander those districts, and then B, people would actually know their representative and actually be represented. I don't feel like I'm actually represented in that my representative is presiding over 800,000 or so people. Like I'm really.
It could make them closer. Yeah, I mean, the House is designed to represent the people, so I'm not automatically opposed. But I do. We're running short on time before the top of the hour, and just a few things I wanted to emphasize about this debate. Some takeaway thoughts, and we'll get to Troy Jackson. Notably, the candidates never attacked each other. And I figure that's just because even they don't know who the hell they are. It's the first time everyone had ever seen each other. But they were too afraid to even discuss the absurdity of Ashley Webb. Nobody touched that. They didn't want. It tells you how that ridiculous display is untouchable in that party. No one would dare question any of it. Yeah. They attacked Trump the whole time, as you'd expect, but the way they chose, I think, was interesting. Many of the candidates, it was almost like a land acknowledgement. We acknowledge that this Maine debate is on stolen land. Instead, it was honoring the family of that Guerrero guy who was shot by ICE. And I know the facts are still coming out about that. We don't know exactly what happened, but they're calling it a murder. We have no information about what happened.
Legal term, guys.
Yeah, they're calling it murder. And so they're making being anti-ICE and being pro-illegal immigration a centerpiece of their campaigns, all of them. And it was just very interesting because Donald Trump is a vulnerable candidate, all right? The Iran situation, not going well, as we talked about. As a consequence, the economy, in ways, sure, the stock market's high, but energy prices are also high. Right. We have potentially some problems in the job market and all that stuff. Okay. Yeah. Donald Trump is vulnerable on Iran and the economy. Hit on those. They didn't focus on that. They focused on immigration, which is where he scores the highest. Yeah, it's the dumbest way to attack him, even though you have to honor the Colombian or the Guatemalan or whatever guy who was shot. Yeah. And so it was very interesting strategically. Like they still don't get it how to do it. Go after the war and the economy, you dummies, but they mostly didn't. And it looks like the guy who's going to win, as I said, he was the most boring. He hardly said anything. I didn't cut any clips of him because there was nothing notable. And so now Troy Jackson is using the strategy of shutting the hell up to gain the nomination. What do you know about this guy?
Well, I was going to say the whole land acknowledgement thing, I think they're actually like unintentionally based by a right-wing perspective, because what are you really saying? Yeah, we took all this land from you guys. Are we going to give it back? No.
Yeah, we're thieves who keep it.
Yeah, we're taking it. Screw you guys. Like, you could easily make a right-wing version of it. Anyway, this guy, Troy Jackson, well, he's been involved in Maine politics for a little more than 2 decades now. He actually first ran for the House of Representatives in Maine in the early 2000s as a Republican. And he lost by a very, very small margin. He then ran years later as an independent and won, and then since switched to the Democratic Party and has been, continuously running as that party since then. Although I guess this is not news for a politician, but it's unclear what his actual true convictions are, in that while as he was a Democrat, he was one of the few Democrats that was openly pro-life, had, I think, a 100% rating from various pro-life organizations.
How recent was that?
Quite recent. And then was also very openly opposed to gay marriage. And then within the past 10 years or so maybe not quite recent, but I would say in political times recent, in the past 10 years or so has changed his tone on that, kind of indirection with the party. What is notable about him is that the DSA did not officially endorse Plattner, although a lot of people there supported him. They did endorse this Troy Jackson guy.
Okay, so Plattner and Jackson were already running against each other?
No, this is a new endorsement from DSA.
Okay.
Jackson.
So now that he's likely to win, they're endorsing him.
Yes. Jackson had actually gone on the campaign trail with Plattner at numerous events, had praised him. So they very much align, and we saw that as well. Also, when it comes to what does this guy actually believe, about a week or two ago, he put out a post condemning Israel for being genocidal and all that, which is basically a stance you have to take on the left now, and it's not even one I necessarily disagree that much with.
We saw Scott Wiener getting that treatment. Say it,
yes.
Scott. Say it's a genocide, Scott.
But the thing that was notable was it was his first ever comment about it. His first time he ever mentioned Israel was about a week and a half ago for that purpose. And it was just obviously to signal to the far left, oh yeah, I'm on your side and there's one issue we all have to agree on. So now when it comes to some of his own scandals, there's a group called Progressive International, and on last Monday they said they're investigating claims from quote unquote contacts on the ground that he threw a water bottle at a woman once at an unspecified date. And I'm quoting them directly. We began asking our contacts on the ground in Maine about Troy Jackson earlier today after seeing many suggestions that he could replace Graham Plattner against Susan Collins. In our discussions, we have received troubling information about not only Jackson's behavior, but the behavior of many prominent Maine Democrats towards women more broadly.
Okay.
Both as a result of the credibility of these sources and in the interest of not seeing our movement make the same mistake twice, we are choosing to share this scandal. So it's very unclear. Was the water bottle full? Was it empty? Did he make like a bottle rocket like they did in middle school where he'd shoot the cap at someone? Very unclear here. This could be
lots
bullshit,
of ways to commit assault with a water bottle. Did he rape with the water bottle? That's what we have to figure out.
We don't know.
Yeah.
So this, to be fair, this could be total bullshit. It's anonymously sourced. It's very unclear what the circumstance was. But
it's unclear if she was being a bitch and deserved it. Might have deserved that water bottle slap.
These are questions that we have to ask.
Yeah.
He also committed mortgage fraud, although to be fair, it's the same kind of mortgage fraud that it seems like everyone and their mother just commits at some point in their life. So he took an FHA loan for $216,000 back in 2019. Now these are federally backed, lower interest rate loans with lower down payments that are intended for primary residencies. Long story short, he did not actually end up living in the house. Sold it 2 years later for a gain of $100K.
So he didn't live in it, even though he had to claim it as his primary residence for the loan benefit or whatever.
I believe this is the same scandal as Adam Schiff, Letitia James, Lisa Cook.
Thank you for pronouncing it correctly.
Apparently, everyone just does this except us, unfortunately. So,
well, you got to be in position to have multiple houses to take advantage of this, right?
That is true. So in my future, hopefully,
you got to be Bernie Sanders. You got to be Bernie Sanders socialist.
I got to write a book people read. But
talk to Ashley. All right. What you need is a Ashley style AI generated female to drive sales. Sex sells. Ashley knows that.
That's true. I'll get a nice when George Soros dies. I'll get a nice bump. Not to want to profit off that, but so anyway. I would say, like, in my opinion, these scandals really aren't that significant. It is just funny that they had to replace the rapey guy with someone else who has now an allegation of assault against a woman against him.
Well, and the question, like, Graham Plattner, of course, seems like a bad guy in many ways, a guy who's had struggles and failures in his life and probably has done crappy things to people. However, I think the question is fair to ask, how much of that is true and how much of that was a Democrat Party or someone else's assault on that candidacy? You can't tell me that lady's CNN story is true. It's just not. It doesn't make sense on its face. And I wouldn't. The other thing that doesn't make sense, though, is they want to get somebody else in place of Graham Plattner. This guy is a bad pick, though. So if you're ousting him, if they come out with fake accusers against him, what would be it wouldn't be a Democrat motive. It'd be maybe some kind of right-wing motive. I don't know.
So he was president of the Senate and was House minority and majority leader of the Senate. So he has some standing there. And I think I made this point last week that whenever Democrats appear to do something that is principled or just the right thing, there is an ulterior motive. I mean, we had 3.5 years of everything's fine with Biden. He's there mentally, blah, blah, blah. And then after the debate, when, the emperor was revealed to have no clothes and it was clear Biden was going to lose in a landslide, then it was, oh, I guess we got to do the right thing and it's going to be tough, but he has to step down. I mean, Jake Tapper wrote a whole book on the cover-up that he himself was part of. I think he exploded on Lara Trump or a member of the Trump family.
You got to talk to Jake. He can sell books, man. He knows how to do it.
Gonna talk to him. So anyway, I was wondering, what does this mean for the race? Because Plattner on the betting odds was trailing Collins, whereas, I actually, full disclosure, I placed a bet on Collins when she was at around 33%. She peaked around 55 or so percent, if I recall correctly, right before the last Plattner scandal,
so
in which case his odds tanked. But the thing is, after Plattner dropped out, the odds of a Democrat winning actually did go up. So the market is pricing him as much more favorable.
Did Troy Jackson
in
these market odds here did he assume the odds of prior Democrat previously? Because how does Troy Jackson have odds like early July?
So the betting line I picked, it was what party will win, Republican or Democrat, not
that just
which
gets
candidate.
Absorbed.
But it's basically the same thing out. So right now it looks like the Democrat is a 2-1 favorite. However, with Susan Collins, she actually tends to outperform traditional polls, and I know this is not a traditional poll, but she was basically neck and neck with Plattner when she was leading the betting odds significantly. And that makes sense because, in 2020, she won by 8 points in a state that Trump won. I mean, obviously, I know not everyone believes that Trump actually lost, or that Trump lost, I should say, Maine. Not that everyone believes that because the election was rigged, but she won Maine by 8 points in 2020. On election day, Quinnipiac suggested that Susan Collins was underwater by 12 points. Now, that appeared to be a bit of an outlier poll, but most polls had her down by 4 or 5 points. So that's as overperformance of 12 to 13 points against the polls. And as I said, the poll against Plattner was about neck and neck, meaning if they were inaccurate by the same amount, she could have had a double-digit overperformance. Now, we don't really have any polls on this Troy Jackson guy, but we'll, see in the next few weeks probably.
Well, Troy Jackson is now a friend of the Democrat Socialists of America. And I don't know if he's a friend of this guy in particular, but we're going to be a little bit late because there's a couple things I want to talk about, and we got to get to Super Chat. So we appreciate our Super Chatters, but give us maybe 10 minutes or so. We'll get to you guys. Because I want to talk about this, and then I got to mention Trump's speech on Thursday, which I'll be very quick about, but I do, I got to discuss it a little bit. But speaking of the Democrat Socialists of America, you sent me this clip of Gustavo Gordillo, the co-chair of the Democrat Socialists of America in New York City. And he was on Fox News with Martha McCallum. There are a couple different clips we'll look at, but the first one here is him saying that there is no right for landlords to earn money on renting their property.
The problem we're facing in our housing system is that we talk about tenants and we say they have to pull themselves up by their bootstraps. They have to be responsible financially. But when we look at the landlords, we don't use those same standards. Landlords in New York have been making a 12% return on their investment on average.
How much should they make? What's fair for the landlord to make if you don't like 12?
They're complaining that 12 is not enough. And we don't think that anyone should have a constitutional right to double-digit returns on their investment. That's why we've implemented...
No one should have a right to a double-digit return on their investment.
No one has a right. That's not... No, what are you talking about? That's not in the Constitution, but what we see is that when we implement a rent freeze, we have landlords who are crying that the government is going to put them out of business.
They're trying to run a business, and they're trying to do it effectively. No, are all landlords perfect? Are some landlords lousy? Of course they are. But I just think that the idea that no one should make a double-digit profit is the antithesis of the desire to, you can be anything you want to be in New York.
Look at this.
I just don't buy that number because you're outperforming the long-term performance of the stock market at 12.5% a year that he quoted with less volatility, which it's just not true. Real estate underperforms stocks, so that can't possibly be true. It was also weird. He acted like double-digit returns is in the Constitution, but then it wasn't in the Constitution. I just don't understand. And the thing is, too, their numbers are always arbitrary. But she asked him, okay, what is the percent? And obviously he doesn't have one. And, I've noticed when they attack billionaires, and I'm thinking, like, okay, hypothetically speaking, if having $1 billion makes you evil, what if we have 50% inflation next year? Do we move up the threshold? Like, do you have to have 1.5 billion to be evil?
It always moves up according to whatever wealth they have,
I don't think so. No. Like my whole take on Elon Musk being a trillionaire briefly was like, it's more a reflection on how much the dollar has been debated.
Yeah, he's provided great value, but if it was 1950, he's not a trillionaire.
He's not a trillionaire in 2019 dollars. It's like that's just we've had a lot of inflation, and these people are economically illiterate. I mean, rent control is one of the most popular economic policies by voters. It is the least popular by economists, and for good reason. And I saw an incredible stat recently in New York that when you see the median rent quoted, it's like $5,500 or something crazy. The median rent that people in New York actually pay is around like $2,000. How is that possible? Well, it's all the rent stabilized people and rent controlled people are being subsidized by people who are paying 3 times as much. And it's just these like wealthy people and transplants are propping up the entire market for everyone else.
Even if it was true that New York City landlords on average are earning a 12% profit, which I agree with, I highly doubt that's the case. But let's say it is. That means what? It means it's a business opportunity for someone else to get into that market, offer housing at a lower profit margin, undercut the greedy people, and scoop all the business. His answer is you have no right to profit constitutionally or morally, but the answer is yes to both of those things. Morally, your property is the fruit of your labor, and you can sell it or lease it for whatever terms someone else is willing to accept and pay for it. But if you want to talk Constitution, yes, legally and constitutionally, property is protected by the 5th and 14th Amendments. No person shall be deprived of it without due process of law. I understand that has been compromised in many different ways throughout the years. But there is, in fact, a constitutional right to property. When he says that there's no such thing, that's just nonsense. And the question is, could New York City constitutionally say you can't profit more than, say, 10% on rent? Probably, since they're already doing it with a rent freeze. But to your point, what does that mean for housing costs? You control what people can earn. They're simply not going to offer that property if they can't earn what the market will bear on it, or they're never going to build new units because they're not going to get a return on the cost of building those units. It's going to constrain the supply. It'll increase costs.
And the ROI as a landlord is from 2 sources. It's the rent payments every month, but it's also the appreciation. And you're getting valued on a mark-to-market basis every. I mean, what are they going to base the return on?
Because
is it if my Zillow goes up by 10%? Like
I think you just nailed it.
Yeah, that's
what they're probably counting to get that 12% figure is unrealized gains. In the same way the market value of your home goes up, they will treat that as wealth acquired, even though you have not sold the property to realize the gain.
And those numbers, like the thing about Zillow is their algorithm is very accurate. But if you're in a neighborhood where there's hundreds of homes and there's 2 sales and those are the only comps to go on, well, if the market's illiquid, that's not being priced into those, into the estimate of like, well, based on what your neighbor sold for, yes, it's worth this, but it's going to be in the market for a year, so you collect a discount.
What did he also say about his parents fleeing Peru or something? Can I play
he had
this?
An interesting excuse for why they had to come to horrible old America.
All right, here we go.
Maoist communist guerrillas in Peru. So why did your family come to America?
The economic situation in South America and in Peru was in a really bad place, but I think that much of what we could say is responsible for that actually was the imposition of capitalism and American imperialism in many cases is actually what brings
they fled the imperialism to get the
outside coming out of Latin America. And
so they come here because they don't like the imposition of American imperialism in the country that they're in?
Yes, in many countries.
So they come here.
in many countries, you know,
he can't even take himself seriously. He's smirking.
You hear this with the Middle East, where they're like, the reason we have Muslim refugees is because we bombed their countries, and I'm like, it's actually not even true. But even if it was, we have no, we like. We're allowed to bomb countries and then not take their people in. In fact, taking in people from countries we just bombed is probably a very dangerous thing to do, because some people are going to slip through the cracks that lost someone or have some vendetta against us. But the thing is, they don't believe their own arguments. And that, suppose we have a country and they have 1 million low-skill immigrants who want to come to our country, and we have never done anything to them. We've never done an act of imperialism, war, whatever. Are they going to say, oh, well, you can't come in then? Of course not. They want us open to the entire world. The justification is after the fact.
Let me say a little bit about Trump's speech on Thursday night. Trump gave a primetime speech on election integrity. He did his classic thing of burying the lead. Instead of getting right to the point, he did several minutes of bragging about lots of unrelated things first. The economy's the best ever. We've crushed Iran, even though they then killed 4 of our people over the weekend. The border's the best ever, which, I don't know about best ever, but he's right about improvement there, so credit where due. Fine. Eventually, Trump got to the point, and he declassified some intelligence reports to suggest or to support his primary claims. There were several here, but I'm going to distill it down. Really, he's saying that China stole hundreds of millions of voter files. The speech was about foreign election meddling in general, but China stole hundreds of millions of voter files, and then the intel officials, the deep state, covered it up.
Over a period of years, starting during the 2020 election cycle, the People's Republic of China carried out what is believed to be the largest compromise of election data in history, resulting in China's illicit acquisition of 220 million U.S. voter files. That information includes names, addresses, phone numbers, political party preferences, and other sensitive data that would be needed to register to vote and engage in other nefarious activities. In our intelligence agency, work to actively suppress and downplay information about the extent of China's sinister election meddling, covering it up from both the president and the American people like nobody thought was possible.
Okay, file this under get back to me when somebody is arrested and charged. If you operate the Justice Department and the case is so clear, you have no excuse for not pursuing and achieving justice. Now, as far as the claims, it sounds like they're a little bit exaggerated, and I haven't had a bunch of time to review the intel reports myself, so perhaps I'm mistaken, but it sounds like China did indeed scoop a bunch of American data, and we should wonder what they do with that or what they intend to do with that, but the speech kind of made it sound like they hacked our voting systems or something. What the intel shows is they scraped voter data largely from public sources, from the states. And that may be concerning, and I'm not saying it's nothing, but it's not the same thing as, say, submitting or changing ballots or votes. Now, mostly this is concern about what China could do with the data, and if they could impersonate voters and potentially cast illegal ballots, and that is a concern. We should care about that. But what this speech really was, as it concluded, it was a push for the SAVE Act. We want to make sure that China can't harvest data and try to vote fraudulently. In addition, we want to make sure that illegal aliens can't cross the border and vote without ID. We need the SAVE Act. That's fine. It should pass. Everybody supports it, like you said, but it won't because Congress really, to me, this was just a dressed up way of trying to get some momentum behind the SAVE Act with claims that, while important, are not exactly as alarmist as potentially presented.
In my state, and I imagine it's different nationally, but where I live, the voter rolls are public.
That's what they're talking about. Yeah.
So, I don't know. Isn't that just data? I don't know. I was just disappointed in that there was no real theory presented as, and here's how this affected the election, and also here's how we know it happened, and by this amount in this area.
Yeah, the question is, what do they want with the data? What are they doing with the data? What could they do with the data? But we don't have answers to that. So anyway, we got to get to Super Chat. I've left them hanging for a while. So before we do that, I'm going to leave them hanging just a little bit longer. Have you considered joining the MC Club? Well, you should. Here's why. Hey, if you enjoy the show, please consider supporting the show by becoming a member of the MC Club. For as little as $1 a month, you will enjoy a series of exclusive perks, including ad-free videos and podcasts, video calls, and a community Discord server with me and other listeners, loot box giveaways with channel merchandise, your name in the credit roll after videos and streams, and much more. But most importantly, you will help keep the duct tape production alive and independent from all those sinister forces of control. Join the MC Club at mattchristiansenmedia.com/support. Linked in the description. Okay, let's get into our super chats. Now, this is going to be a little bit disjointed because Matt doesn't have access to the YouTube chats, but you do have Tippy and Rumble.
I have 5.
Why don't I start with YouTube, and you can read the ones you do have access to. We'll go back and forth that way. So I'll start on YouTube. Tortuga says, curious, is the January 6th Vigil AARP Tifa the final boss of the Matt Christiansen video game? Not quite. We will get into the video game later, although there is a final boss, and it is something of a similar theme, and to the point of elderly combatants. That's a small piece of the game as well. So you're not far off in terms of what your expectations are.
There's also an encounter with a female cop.
Yeah, which we will show later in the show. She got the best of Matt Palumbo.
Got me. I was not expecting what happened.
Justin says, Justin Brush says, shout out to my father-in-law, Frank, loving husband, dedicated father, grandfather, and my wingman in my proposal to my wife. Rest in peace, and we hope to see you again someday.
We love you. You're very special.
Justin is also my Bible study leader for this season of Bible study, and God bless you, man. I know it's been a rough situation for your father-in-law. God bless your wife. God bless your family. God bless him, and all the best to you, man. I hope your family reaches peace. I hope he is at peace, and all the best to you. I'm sorry to hear the situation for your family. Spirit of Lexi. Oh yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so Ninja Kitty Bonks.
Oh yeah, I should have given you. I skipped. Sorry, I already screwed this up.
You want me to do 2?
I was just thinking about Justin's family. That's all.
I'll read. No, it's
you go. You do 2.
I'll do 2. So, Ninja Kitty Bonks. Mr. Matt Ishgay, aka Commentator 6, Ish Gay. I wonder where that is.
I see. Is gay.
Like.
ISGHEY. Is gay.
Oh, I might have dyslexia. Matt is okay. For some reason, I read as ISH, not IG. Mr. Matt is gay. Seeks rubles to create video game. Wear those latex gloves and reach deep. Jeff Stoat and Tortuga.
Jeff Sloat.
Sure. Details: Matt Christiansen Media /game. I don't know what that means, but
what it means is
that's a big game, man.
Nice. And there's not that much gay content in the game, but it was not ignored.
Sorry for butchering the is gay joke. I thought even with me misreading it, it was still the same effect.
Oh, that was an intentional misread?
Oh, it was totally unintentional. I'm a little.
Oh, okay. You're just you're trying to give credit to the joke. I see.
Yeah.
Well, here you go. I stomped all over this last time, but now you're teed up for the next one. We got Newbie.
Newbie of Death. What do you think it's going to say?
I'm looking at it.
If you read this,
you are gay. LMAO.
There you go.
Very nice.
Okay, over on YouTube, Spirit of Lexington, I tried finding a Muslim cake shop in Montana. Perhaps unsurprisingly, I could not. I think there are only a handful of mosques in the state of Montana. There are a few. I think there's one in Bozeman. Yeah. Cake shop, I don't know about. I could not, but I did find the Fluffy Butt Hut in Darby. You should try that place, Matt. Okay, well,
bingo.
I'll consider it.
All right. Yakko 1977. Regarding the conflict with Iran, I think we can achieve goals like air superiority with relative ease, but keeping the strait open and toppling the regime are proving problematic. There's no end in sight.
Well, and I think there's a lot of things we could do. It's just what are we willing to accept in terms of risk militarily? Like even keeping the strait open requires our naval presence in the strait, which means what? Potential vulnerability to the same sort of missiles, drones that are being launched at our bases in the Middle East. It's not that we can't destroy those sites and we can't destroy them militarily if we want to, but do we really want to take over another country? And if we aren't willing to do that, are we going to park our ships in the strait? And if they get hit in the way that our bases just got hit and people die. It's the sort of thing where, like, if Iran does even minimal damage against us, it's viewed as a quote-unquote win for them. And so there's a lot of calculation about what damage we're willing to sustain. Rightfully so, Americans are not thrilled about another Middle Eastern war. And there's also the problem of what is the expectation? And this war has been sold as a very quick and easy thing. And it turns out it's not. So when the expectation is quick and easy, any complication is not viewed kindly. And that's what's happening right now.
We'll get our 30th peace deal very soon.
Yeah, that's going to be the one. Let's see.
Tim.
Okay, go ahead with that one.
All right.
And then
He's quoting, there are constituents which deserve honesty and transparency, end quote.
Yeah.
Sorry, I refuse to be lectured by anybody from the Democrat Party about honesty and transparency after 4 years of Biden. Quoting, Biden is mentally the best we've ever seen, end quote. Lying pricks. Agreed. Well put.
That was 4 days ago, 5 days ago.
Come on, man. Give him a break. Guardian Game Studio, who we will hear from later in the show. Question, how much money, non-taxed, would it take for you to get with Dank Demoss?
Oh, God.
First, I was thinking Count Dankula. No, Dank Demoss, one time. Assume you're married, but just need a number. Everyone will know after.
Oh, God.
No.
There is no number.
I know that no one's going to believe me when I say there is no number.
No,
no. Whatever. Okay, what's the value of the number? Let's say it's $1 billion. The value of the number is the ability to take care of my family forever. Mm-hmm. But the cost of acquiring that wealth for my family is disgracing my family forever.
Your kids are getting bullied every single day in school over that. Your dad is the guy who slept with. You no longer are Matt Christiansen. You're reduced to that one action.
It's prostitution, action. But it's prostitution. Not that any form is honorable. This is an especially disgraceful form. So the answer is no. I would not engage in prostitution for the benefit of my family because there's no such thing. Yeah. And I hate to cop out, but we could talk about. Yeah, I don't
think it's too graphic, but you'd need like a 30-inch long penis to even be able to get in there anyway. Like it's not happening.
You gotta have good reach. Yeah,
you gotta have good reach.
Thank you, Guardian Game Studio. Anyway. We'll talk to you in a minute.
Your friendly neighborhood Fed. Happy National Ice Cream Day, Matt and Matt. I am going to have some on the break. What is each of your favorite flavors of ice cream? Mine is either black raspberry or cherry cordial. Is that cordial?
I don't know.
Cordial? I don't know. I like
generally
mint chocolate chip. Anything with peanut butter in it. Coffee ice cream.
Cookie dough. Moose tracks.
Good. Yeah.
Do you guys have moose tracks out on the East Coast?
No.
I don't know. It's got peanut butter cups in it, fudge swirls, legit. Now, in terms of moral dilemmas, the best ice cream out there is undeniably Ben & Jerry's. It's the best.
It is good. Yeah.
And I have a confession that even though I refuse to eat their communist ice cream, a member of my family provided some Ben & Jerry's new ice cream bars at our family dinner the other night, and I caved. I broke.
But they are
are
owned now by an evil mega corporation, which I think is better than them being owned by two shitlibs in Vermont.
That's how I will rationalize. That does make it better. Monsanto owns them now, so okay, great.
No, it's like Unilever or something. But they did they actually provided unintentionally an interesting case against leftist economics, and that many years ago, Ben & Jerry's, when they both owned it, tried to have a policy where like the highest earning worker can't earn more than a certain ratio of the lowest paying worker. I can't remember the number, but let's say 10x. So when they were looking for a CEO, the CEO couldn't earn 10 times more than like a minimum wage worker. So it ended up proving like they couldn't end up getting a competent CEO, and it basically proved that kind of policy could never actually work in reality and all that. So we got that from them at least. But no, they're completely nuts. Doing them.
Thank you, Mr. Fed. Appreciate your ice cream thoughts. I'm going to grab just a couple more here, and then we'll have to hop into our guest segment because I'm running out of time here. But Injured Guardian, decimating, as in the Iranian military, decimating means destroying 1/10.
Yeah.
Vang should be quartered. 8 horses, 6 sets of 4-way crossroads. That works. Buy your wife more of her EDC mags. That's true. Probably you can never have enough, and I don't think I do. But is it? I thought decimating was like to divide into 10. I didn't destroying 1/10.
I believe the definition is to reduce by 1/10. I mean,
Okay.
to be fair, when politicians use it, they don't mean it literally. I assume they just mean general destruction.
So
but
decimating is used to mean total destruction, but it in fact means like
literally, it means reduced by 1/10.
very little destruction.
It's like a decile is a 10th.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you learn something every day. Appreciate that. ADM. Everyone is focusing on the trans person, yet the person likely to win the main primary is another DSA agent. So maybe that's the angle. If you believe that Graham Plattner... No, but Graham Plattner basically already was a DSA agent. So it wouldn't be a hit on Graham Plattner from a DSA perspective to get another DSA person. That wouldn't make a lot of sense. But ultimately, the DSA is really taking over the Democrat Party. I mean, it is... Zoran Mamdani's rise. We got this guy in Maine. We've got, we just heard that clip. Was that a Sunday show where we played the clip, or was it Wednesday? I can't remember. But the clip of these activists, these DSA leaders around the country talking about their efforts to infiltrate various power centers and subvert the country. And they're doing it, and they're doing it largely through the Democrat Party existing structure, which if you're them is smart. You don't need to reinvent the wheel if the wheel is already there for you to grab. I oppose them with, everything, but they are behaving intelligently from a tactical perspective.
Yeah.
So
I mean, Trump kind of did that with the GOP. He's completely remade it in his image. Tim asked if we got a Rumble rant by Yako. I did read a comment by Yako. Is that the same thing?
Yeah, if there's just one. And Tim, if there's another one, just let me know, because we did get the one. But
and Tim, the one I'm reading, it was the one about Iran, his comment on Iran. But we actually have a comment from producer Tim here as well.
All right, well, let's get that one, and we'll call Super Chat for now.
As you guys have already said, being a trillionaire is in part a relative idea. Let's not forget that in Zimbabwe, inflation became so insane. At the start of 2009, they had printed banknotes as high as 100 trillion, which was worth about $30 USD. Guess what I got, Tim?
There you go.
$100 trillion. I have it laying around on my desk.
You're a Zimbabwean trillionaire? Is that the term?
$150 trillion Zimbabwe dollars. Man.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right.
I'll have to just circle back with you.
Thank you.
And it's worth way less than $30 now. It's like, I think, nothing, basically.
Well, it's still worth something. And in African terms, that's something indeed.
True.
All right. Our guest tonight is self-defense attorney Guy Relford. Guy is here to help us break down that Florida Walmart parking lot shooting 2 weeks ago. One of the things that's interesting about Guy, he has a broad self-defense attorney career. He's been doing it for some time. And he also represented Elisjsha Dicken, the guy who was the hero of stopping that mass shooting at the Indiana Mall back in 2022. So plenty to talk about. Really appreciate Guy's insights. We'll get into his background, the Florida stuff, the Elisjsha Dicken stuff, all that and more. About 32 minutes. See you on the other side.
Stand back and stand by.
A Marion County jury finds a man accused of murder not guilty yesterday after 3 hours of deliberating. Ryan Kazort's been awaiting trial for 15 months, claiming he shot a man at an Indianapolis bar in self-defense. He was charged with murder after the man shot him first. Kazort's attorney, Guy Relford, is joining us live this morning to talk about this verdict. What was your reaction yesterday when the jury came back with a not guilty verdict?
Well, it was the right verdict, Angela. We had a great jury. They were really attentive. They asked a lot of their own questions throughout the 3-day trial. We just had a fabulous jury, and it was the right result. I mean, this was a self-defense shooting.
Welcome back. Our guest tonight is attorney, firearms instructor, radio host, author, and founder and CEO of the 2A Project, Guy Relford. Guy, thank you for joining us.
Man, it's my pleasure. I follow you guys. I'm a subscriber, and so it's an honor to be on the show.
Oh, well, thanks. Appreciate that. And you were recommended to us by a listener because we were looking for a self-defense lawyer to break down this Florida parking lot shooting that happened about 2 weeks ago, because we both, I think both of us and our audience have found this incredibly difficult to figure out. I want to get to that in a minute, but before we do, what is the Guy Relford story? What's your background? How did you get into this area of the law?
Well, I'm an old guy. I've been an attorney for a long time, 43 years. My practice focuses exclusively on Second Amendment issues, which leads me into things like the restoration of Second Amendment rights for people who have lost them. But primarily, I do criminal defense work, and that focuses primarily on self-defense cases. In fact, I just got out of a murder trial that I tried this week that ended Wednesday late, and that was a murder case where we successfully proved that my client acted in self-defense. So that's been my focus: the law of self-defense, the law around Second Amendment rights, and that's been my focus really for a very long time.
Well, let's move into this Florida parking lot case then, and whether this is a case of legitimate self-defense or not. And before we get your take on it, Guy, I just want to review the facts so that listeners who may have missed or have forgotten what the situation is. But many of the facts here are still unknown. What we have is two people who were fighting over a parking spot is the alleged origin of this conflict. You have a black woman and you have a white man, and the man at some point drives away from this argument they're having. The woman then takes the parking spot. She exits her vehicle with a gun in her hand. The man approaches on foot. He's unarmed. She points the gun. He advances on her while she retreats. Then he leaves. So she doesn't take a shot on the first physical encounter there. Or he doesn't get physical in terms of touching her, but physically advancing on her. Then he comes back. So he leaves and he comes back and advances again. And then she takes the shot and she claims self-defense and so far has not been arrested or charged. And I do have, there's various pieces of video of this encounter, some cell phone, some dash cam. I want to play what I think is the best assembly of the events in sequence as we understand them.
Awesome.
Walk away, the woman says in this very short cell phone video that ends with what sounds like a single gunshot. But we are now seeing what happened in the minutes prior in this Walmart parking lot at 7900 West McNabb Road. Take a look at this dash cam video. That's the woman with the gun on the left, getting out of her car, holding a phone in her left hand and a gun in her right. A witness tells 7 News that moments before this, she'd gotten into an argument over that space with the man we see in that cell phone video. In fact, the witness says the man parked his white SUV like this, blocking the space, but minutes later he moved. She then pulls into the space, and according to the witness, she spoke briefly to the people in that white Honda, who the witness says told her the man was still in the parking lot. Then you see him, 62-year-old Bart DeGuglielmo, walking up to her. She points the gun, and for at least 30 seconds they exchange words. At one point, he follows her as she walks around another car, still pointing the gun. He appears to walk away, but immediately comes back, and she fires. All this time, it appears she's still on the phone. He remains conscious on the ground as one car stops, but then keeps going. Then a second car behind them. For more than 2 minutes, pedestrians and cars go by. The man was alternately sitting up and lying down, but he would later die at the hospital. Deputies arrived roughly 3 minutes after the shooting, and that woman, we're told, is claiming self-defense.
So, Guy, I invite your thoughts and your breakdown, because there is a pretty even split among our listeners about who's at fault here and whether this is self-defense or something criminal,
Well, and
whether
there's
that's murder or
there's
something
a very
else.
even split, Matt, and I understand that completely. Because first of all, let's talk about Florida law. Florida, as you well know, has a very robust self-defense law, and a lot of people want to call it the stand your ground law. Stand your ground is kind of misunderstood. Stand your ground typically is just one provision in an overall self-defense statute that says if you're otherwise justified in using deadly force, you don't have to walk away first before you're able to use deadly force to defend yourself. But it all is dependent upon the initial determination that you were justified in using deadly force to begin with. And some states and some courts over the years said, well, if you can run away then it's never necessary to use deadly force to defend yourself. And some states came back and said, hold on, we're not going to require people to run away first. So they put a stand your ground provision in their general self-defense law, it's typically one line with no duty to retreat. In other words, in Indiana, where I practice, the law that applied to the case I just tried, it said you're justified in using reasonable force, including deadly force, with no duty to retreat if you reasonably believe that force is necessary to prevent serious bodily injury or the commission of a forcible felony. And so there's just one line. So it's kind of a misnomer and a misimpression that people have that they're called stand your ground laws. No, they're self-defense laws, and they have a stand your ground provision in them. And that's exactly how Florida law is written. They talk about great bodily harm or death or the commission of a forcible felony. But otherwise, it's very similar to Indiana's law that, again, is where I practice. So that's the standard. So we're first asking ourselves, did she have a reasonable belief? And by the way, we're seeing snippets of videos. I'm sure there are longer video segments that the media hasn't shown us. The case I just tried, I mean, it was all about, there was a security video that was motion activated. It would come on, it would go off, and it would come back on. And there was an incredible amount of attention with blow-ups and slow motion and all kinds of attention to what you can and cannot see in these videos. So the whole collection of videos is going to be absolutely critical to the evaluation of this case. But let's back up. As I mentioned to start the conversation, Florida has a very robust self-defense law. And in fact, they have a provision that most states don't have, which is there's a pre-trial self-defense immunity hearing where you go in and there's a hearing where the state has to prove in front of the judge before you're ever in front of a jury, before it ever goes forward, that by clear and convincing evidence, the person did not act in self-defense. And only if a judge says, well, yeah, there's clear and convincing evidence this person did not act in self-defense, does it go forward to the jury. The jury then, in front of the jury, the prosecution has to then prove beyond a reasonable doubt that the person did not act in self-defense. So you're starting, if you're a prosecutor and you want to charge this person in this situation with whatever crime, whether it's voluntary manslaughter, potentially murder, I think it would probably be manslaughter if they charged anything. You're behind the eight ball because you've got the burden of proof at the immunity hearing, then you've got the burden of proof by a higher standard at trial. So the second question is, all right, what's the let's say we get to trial, or even the debate, the discussion at the immunity hearing is, did she have a reasonable belief based on what we just saw and whatever other evidence there is out there that we haven't seen, that she was protecting herself, defending herself, preventing great bodily harm or death or the commission of a forcible felony. And so that, you and I, however we feel about self-defense, however we feel about gun rights, I could take one side of that argument and make a very powerful argument. You could take the other side of that argument and make a very powerful argument too. What she has going for her is one element that we always talk about in self-defense cases is what's called disparity of force. And anything that creates disparity of force is something that helps you if you're claiming self-defense. And by disparity of force is if there's two people that are coming at you and you're a single person, well, that's a disparity of force. If somebody's younger and stronger than you, that's a disparity of force. Here, she and not to be sexist about it, but the basic fundamental truth is that she's a woman, he's a man, and so there's a disparity of force there. Is he bigger than her? Is he stronger than her? Now, if he's older than her, and who knows, his physical condition, based on what she could see, what was reasonable in the circumstance, is all going to come into it. But if he's a man, he's bigger than her, he's advancing on her. What were his hands doing? Were his fists clenched? Were his hands open? When he was walking toward her, was he talking to her, or was he advancing toward her, not saying anything, which gives you more of an impression that he was advancing on her, because he clearly was walking toward her at that moment. He was shot. What would a reasonable person believe he was doing in that moment? Was he advancing to attack her, or simply to come in and express his displeasure over the whole silly parking lot dispute? So all those things go into it. But the bottom line is the state, if the state decides to charge her, they're doing so with the belief that they can prove at trial in court that she did not have a reasonable belief that she was preventing great bodily harm or death or the commission of a forcible felony. A forcible felony is a felony committed through the use or threat of force in which there's a danger of injury to a human being. So, battery with injury or whatever, anything along those lines would be a forcible felony. So those are kind of the general parameters.
One issue of debate among our audience, really it comes down to who people are interpreting as the aggressor. Is she the aggressor for introducing the gun? Is he the aggressor for advancing on her multiple times? I'm unclear. She exits the vehicle with a gun in her hand. As far as we can tell, as far as I'm aware, she doesn't point it until he is moving toward her. But is having the gun in her hand, is that an act of aggression itself or not?
Well, that's up to a jury to decide. And there may be case law in Florida. I doubt it because that's such a specific situation. There may be case law in Florida that says, well, pulling a gun or simply having a gun down, at your side is an act of aggression. But mostly that typically comes down to just an argument in front of the jury. And you raise a really important point, Matt, which is there are times that you can't claim self-defense. And I teach a class on gun law and self-defense law here in Indiana. And I always have a series of slides, and they start off with what I call the "you're the bad guy" rules. In other words, you can't claim self-defense if you're the bad guy. Well, when are you the bad guy? You're the bad guy if you are committing or escaping after the commission of a crime. You're the bad guy if you provoked a confrontation with the intent to hurt the other person. And then how it works in most states, including Florida, is you're the bad guy if you're the initial aggressor. And so you raise a really important point, which is that even if she would otherwise afterward be justified in using force, including deadly force in self-defense, she may have lost that right if a jury decides that she's the initial aggressor. But I doubt seriously if it's anything other than a jury determination, whether simply getting out of your car with a gun next to your leg or down to your side is an actual act of aggression. I mean, as a gun rights attorney, somebody's got Second Amendment right here on my arm and handles mostly Second Amendment cases. I think people, simply being armed is never an act of aggression. Pulling it out, holding it down next to your leg, eventually pointing it, a jury could easily decide that that's an act of aggression. Of course, her attorney, if it goes that far, which is still an open question, whether she even gets charged, would of course say that's defensive only. Merely having a gun, especially when a man who's bigger than you, stronger than you, being aggressive or threatening in some way, that's not an act of aggression. That's being the initial aggressor. That's simply being defensive, and those are things that are going to be potentially argued at trial. But right now, I'll guarantee you that local prosecutor is reviewing all this. They have many more facts than we do. I'll guarantee you, and they look at all those facts, going, can we get over the hurdle of beyond a reasonable doubt at trial, or even clear and convincing evidence that she was not entitled to defend herself under those circumstances at a preliminary immunity hearing, as they have in Florida. So that gets real interesting real fast.
Is there anything to be made of the timeline here? We're about 2 weeks removed from the incident, and the longer we go without an arrest or charges, the less likely they are to come, I would think. But prosecutors have not made any sort of announcement about their decision either way. What is a tip? I'm sure it probably varies by the complexity of the case and what the available evidence is. But is there any significance that we're now 2 weeks removed without any kind of charging decision?
Well, it's another great question, but I'll refer back to the case I just had. I just tried a murder case. We won on self-defense. Do you know how long it was between the actual deadly shooting, where my client first got shot, took the gun away from the other guy, shot him with his own gun, eventually got charged with murder? It was 5.5 months between the shooting and when the prosecutor's office charged him. And a lot of times they're waiting on things like DNA evidence or, fingerprint analysis or whatever, if that's relevant. A lot of times they just simply can't decide. They're locked up, within the prosecutor's office trying to decide whether they're going to file charges or not, whether they can get over that very high hurdle of, beating a clear and convincing standard, meeting a clear and convincing standard at an immunity hearing, and then eventually winning a trial. And there may be an internal debate. You may have prosecutors within the office, the prosecutor's attorney, the prosecuting attorney, one saying, "Oh yeah, we got to prosecute this case," and another one saying, "Oh hell no, there's no way we can win it." So the time that goes by, I think it's a factor. In fact, I argued to the jury just on Wednesday. I pointed out that it was 5 months, 5.5 months since the time of the shooting until the time they charged my client. And I said, there's obviously reasonable doubt on whether this was self-defense or not, because the prosecuting attorney had a reasonable doubt. That's why it took him 5.5 months to file charges.
Yeah.
So that's something you can actually talk about at trial. The prosecutors weren't very happy when I made that argument, but to hell with that. It's a reasonable argument because the longer they wait, the longer they ruminate, the longer they debate internally, whatever it might be going on, the more it indicates that it's less likely that they can prove what they have to prove at trial.
Well, the people are going to be unhappy, Guy, because we didn't get the clear answer. Who's right, team woman or team man? We need a decision. I know you don't have all the information, but let's put it to you this way, and you don't have to answer. I don't mean to put you on the spot, but Matt and I were talking a couple weeks ago about this story. If we were on the jury presented and we had the case as presented basically in that video, to us, there was probably enough reasonable doubt for any kind of murder or criminal homicide charge that there probably is reasonable belief for her when the guy's coming at her multiple times that there's a threat to her life or her physical well-being. If you had to make a knee-jerk decision, what would you say?
Yeah, and I was saying, in that discussion, like if it was your wife and they're in a situation where a man is advancing at them, do you really want them to have to second guess, do I wait for the guy to strike me first? Do I wait till he's in my face before I pull the trigger because God forbid I get charged? And I would say, well, no, I would rather have a system of self-defense where, yes, there's going to be some percentage of cases where we say to ourselves, maybe it's a gray area, maybe it really shouldn't have never escalated this way, but that is just kind of like the cost of doing business and having a good self-defense system, I guess, was sort of my take on it. And I think Matt agreed with me and half our audience seemingly.
Well, that's a good way of expressing it too, both of you guys. And I don't disagree with you. I think, I'll approach it two ways. The firearms instructor in me always says, listen, a gun's a tool of last resort that you only use certainly to pull the trigger, even to bring it out of your holster or your purse, wherever it might be. You only bring it out when it's really essential to save your life or another innocent life. And I'll never deviate from preaching that message. At the same time, the defense attorney in me says, I think I would win this case if it was prosecuted. And I think there's a very likely chance that won't even be prosecuted, partly because of what we've talked about. There is a disparity of force. He is advancing on her. And the fact that you guys, have such a split among your listeners who are going back and forth on this. What's that sound like? That sounds like reasonable doubt.
That's true.
Right?
I mean, people who are listening to us are, pro gun rights, pro self-defense people. And so this is an interesting case because the split is within people who are usually more unified. But yeah, I'll take your point on that for sure.
Yeah. Well, and even, like I said, my whole practice, my whole legal career for a long time has been about Second Amendment rights. I write legislation in Indiana. I formed a gun rights organization called the 2A Project in Indiana. It's all about gun rights. But that goes two ways. And I may upset some people by saying this, and I don't particularly care at this age, but the more people do things that, and I'm not attributing this to this lady necessarily, but the more people do things in public with guns, that especially they're highly, highly publicized, the more the politicians, whether they're in Washington or in your locality or in your state house, the more people are going to say, you know what, we need to pass a law. We need to change the law. We need to do something to restrict these knuckleheads running around with guns. And people like me who are in the state house every year, people who fight against anti-2A legislation every year, have more of a fight on our hands because something has happened that's got a lot of publicity that people want to criticize to say we shouldn't allow that to happen. We should change the law. and not that this would ever happen, but just by way of a silly example, somebody saying, you know what, maybe the burden of proof is too high on this preliminary hearing, an immunity hearing in Florida, where you have to even prove by clear and convincing evidence it was not self-defense, but to even go to trial. And we had to change that because we had this case in this parking lot where, you know, a guy got shot who shouldn't have gotten shot. And I'm not making that argument. I'm just trying to express an example of what I'm talking about. So I have kind of a high standard on people that use force, and I want to, and I think we all ought to be reluctant to use force unless it's absolutely positively necessary. That's the firearms instructor in me. That's the two-way advocate in me, because the more there are questionable circumstances, the more the anti-gun legislators and the Democrat liberals out there want to strip our rights away from us, and it creates more fights for us to fight. Now I'll go to the other side of me, and the defense attorney in me says, I think I would win that case, especially under Florida law. I think I would win that case. I think I could beat it at an immunity hearing to show there's not clear and convincing evidence that she was not justified in defending her life or preventing great bodily harm. And I think I win that case. And that, I'm not saying that's because I'm a great lawyer. I'm just thinking I think that's what the facts establish. So I hate to give you a split answer like that, but from a legal perspective, I think she probably wins that case.
I think, well, it's very refreshing to hear someone who understands all the complexities of something like this, to be able to break this down and show, yeah, the disagreement among our community and our listeners, that's not unreasonable, that this actually is a pretty difficult one to break down. And there are pretty good arguments on both sides if you have to take them. So I appreciate that. But I do want to ask you about, with the time we have, maybe a case of the use of force that is much more obvious and indeed much more heroic, because I did not know that you actually represented Elisjsha Dicken in Indiana. And if people don't remember, this young man actually took some unbelievable shots to stop a mass shooting at a mall in Indiana in 2022. And I know there were viral like gun range challenges. You had to complete the Dicken challenge and make the shots that he did in the amount of time he had.
It was incredible.
And I know, as far as I'm aware, he was never in any kind of legal trouble, right? But what can you tell? He's very quiet, it seems. I don't think I've ever heard him speak publicly. But what a heroic kid. He was 22 at the time, and you worked with him. And what can you say about Elisjsha's story?
You know, I didn't know we were going to talk about this, but I'm really glad you asked me, because I'm really proud to have been Eli's lawyer. I got called while he was still being interrogated by the Greenwood Police Department in Greenwood, Indiana, after this shooting. His family hired me. I was down there within hours and heard the whole story. And I'm one of the few people other than police that have seen the whole security video. And the whole thing is not only incredibly heroic, it's almost surreal. Because you mentioned the marksmanship involved. This is a person, and I don't like to mention, I don't know what your policy is if you have one, but I don't mention mass shooters. I have a radio show, and if it's a mass shooter, they're typically looking for notoriety, and to hell with them. I'm not going to give them any more notoriety. So I typically just say the bad guy or the mass shooter. But this is a mass shooter who came into the Greenwood Park Mall in Greenwood, Indiana with an AR, and he had a body rig on, had 3 loaded 30-round mags on a body rig. He had his AR, came in and started shooting people. And from 43 yards away, I know because I lasered it the next day, and it was 43 yards. Eli took 4 shots. He was braced on top of a tall mall trash can very wisely. He actually had cover. It was a tall mall trash can and a column that went up to support the ceiling. He had partial cover and braced on a tall mall trash can. And from 43 yards away, he took 4 shots with a Glock 19, which, by the way, had screwed up sights on it. He had a motorcycle mishap a few weeks before where he went down on a motorcycle, like most of us have done who ride motorcycles, and he skidded on his right hip as he was carrying this Glock 19 in a hip holster at about 3 o'clock. And he totally chewed up the right rear sight and the front sight on his Glock 19. In fact, I've got pictures on my phone that I show to people. They don't even believe me. I said, this is Eli Dicken's gun and his sights. So he takes 4 shots from a Glock 19, even a compact firearm, braced on a tall mall trash can, hits 2 out of 4 from 43 yards.
Yeah, multiple shots in that situation, the tension, the distance, it's really incredible what he did to save lives that day.
It's more incredible even than that. And I don't want to take too much of your time if you want to.
But please, I want to hear all about this.
It's more important because when you see the security video, he braces on his tall mall trash can. He takes 2 shots, and then he has to wait, and he raises his muzzle as screaming bystanders go running by in front of his shooting position. And he had the wherewithal not only to hit 1 out of his first 2 shots, but to not hit any bystanders as they ran past him. He retook that position, fired 2 more shots, hit the guy 1 more time. Then he closed to about 25 yards and just freehand standing out. He fired 4 shots, hit the guy all 4 times, closed then to about 12 yards and fired 2 more shots and hit him, and the fight was over. But the whole thing is absolutely unbelievable. The marks, he had 8 out of 10 shots starting at 43 yards. And I've been a firearms instructor for a long time. I've been a competitive shooter for a long time. And it's what's funny, I'm his lawyer, and I've been to 3 classes. I like to train. I like to go to classes. I go to classes all over the country. And I've been to 3 classes now where the last thing we do, they go, okay, we're going to do something now we call the Dicken drill.
Yeah.
And I go through, and where they try to hit 8 out of 10 shots from 43 yards, which isn't exactly what happened. But at any rate, it's an amazing thing. Eli told me the first time I ever talked to him, he said, I don't want to talk to the media. I don't ever want to talk about this incident. He goes, I'll tell you everything that happened. You can talk as much as you want to. I know there's a Second Amendment issue here. I know you're a 2A guy. I don't ever want to talk to the media. And he never has, and he's made it very clear he never will. It doesn't matter that it's 3 or 4 years later, he doesn't want to talk to the media. And by the way, at 43 years as a lawyer, one of my real highlights of my career is being able to tell CNN to pound sand about 10 times.
What a privilege.
As well as MSNBC and several others who called me wanting to talk to Eli. And that was fun. That was a highlight. But you talk about a hero. I had one conversation with him next morning. I'm in his kitchen, and he's telling me about what happened. And I said, Eli, I go, how much have you trained over the years? And he goes, oh, I really haven't. My grandfather taught me how to shoot when I was about 10. And I went, well, when you go to the range, are you really good? He goes, I don't know. I've never been to a range. Have you ever taken a class? He goes, no, I've never taken a class. And I'm like, well, how do you explain this? And he goes, I dry fire a lot. I sit in my room, and he had a laser on it. He had a little cheap O-light that had both a light and a laser on it. And I'm not an O-light fan, so forgive me for the people out there that feel differently. But
we don't have a sponsorship. It's all right. Yeah.
That's a good point. I'm glad I should have asked that first. But he had this cheap O-light that had a laser in it, and he would put his laser on his light switch, just the switch itself, in his room at night. And he would try to hold the laser on the switch and make the gun go click without the laser coming off the switch. And he goes, I would sit there and I would do that, for hours, just, bored in my room at night. And he goes, when I took those shots, I was actually thinking about the trigger pull it took to be as light and gentle on that trigger to keep that laser from coming off that light switch. And that's why I hit what I did. And I still, though, without having done live fire and never had a training course, never done competition, any of that, I asked him, I said, I got to ask you, are you a religious guy? And I won't reveal what he said because that's his personal information. I won't reveal that. But after he responded, I said, I got one theory, brother. Hand of God was on your shoulder, man. That's what happened.
Yeah.
And I believe that to this day.
Yeah. We need him on our Olympic shooting team, I think. We'll never lose again.
That's right. That's a better story than the guy from Turkey who showed up with a T-shirt.
Oh, yeah, just in his casual.
He was great.
Cool.
Yeah.
We need to pitch him on that.
Well, that's our guest, Guy Relford. You can find him at relfordlaw.com and the2aproject.com. You can also follow on X. It's at Guy Relford. All of those are linked in the description for you. Guy, is there anything else you would like to promote?
No, not at all as far as promotion. I just want to thank you guys. I'm a fan of yours. You do great things. I like your podcast a lot, and it's an honor to be here on your podcast with you.
Awesome.
Well, we appreciate your time. Thank you for being here.
I'm impressed with the duct tape. Impressed and hopeful.
Stand back and stand by.
Thanks again to our guest, Guy Relford. Find him at relfordlaw.com. Follow him on X at Guy Relford, linked in the description. Any other... Yeah, I really appreciate his time, and I mostly appreciate his taste in podcasts. Excellent.
I think that was his best quality.
No, it's he's a busy, like he said, he just handled a murder trial earlier in the week and still agreed to come on. So
record time, like compared to, he was one of the easiest to book. He was really excited to come on. It was really cool.
So I don't have the listener's name who recommended him handy. I apologize for that. I should, but if you're out there and you're listening, thank you for making that connection, because I didn't. I had not encountered Guy before this, and he's in addition to being a very nice man with a lot of knowledge, he's just a valuable resource for the show.
Really
I hope that next time that we have a complicated self-defense case like this, he'd be willing to walk us through it again. So thank you to the listener that made that connection. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
But it's time for Hoax Hate, my friend.
Oh, good.
And now, the nobody saw it happen, but it's totally a product of Trump's America Hoax Hate Crime of the Week.
Ah, shit, it's backwards. You think they'll notice?
You actually bailed me out on Hoax Hate this week because you sent me this one.
Yes,
and
I did.
I do my Hoax Hate due diligence each week, but there wasn't a lot of compelling material this week. Mostly it's not that hard to find them, but this was one week where I didn't see a lot. And thankfully, the highly regarded Matt Palumbo got us a story. At San Jose State University in California, there have been several recent episodes of threatening and hateful letters and flyers. Really just handwritten things, as you can see on your screen here. Papers placed across campus. Last fall, one of these notes read... text is a little small, but it reads, "Warning, mass bomb next week. This is a white nation. Kill all Muslims and Chinks. MAGA 2028, kill Zoran." Dude, Mamdani's taken straight.
The Chinks is what gives it away, because there's a joke that, like, if you're a white supremacist and you have an Asian wife, it's somehow totally compatible. Like, it's a recurring phenomenon. It's very bizarre, but no, I don't know. Asians seem to get a pass from racist, so they would have never used that word. It's also not a racial slur people really use, even if you didn't like it. It's too outdated.
It's hard to read on the text toward the bottom, but it actually says, "Eat pigs, not dogs."
Go eat your dog with some rice, bitch.
So maybe LaDonna wrote this.
So, okay, so it's both anti-Muslim and Chinese.
Yeah, they hate Chinks
and
Muslims.
That is creative. Yeah.
So, according to the Justice Department, upon investigation, it was not, in fact, a proud Nazi. It was not a friend of Graham Plattner who put this one together. Even though they did get the swastika orientation right. If you look, it's got the S shape. It's rightward. So they did get that right. Maybe it could have been authentic, but it is not. Just like the guy who did the cross burning in Chicago recently. This is the work of a gay, Asian, in this case, Chinese leftist.
Yeah.
30-year-old Zihong Tony Fong faces a federal charge of false information and hoaxes. He's accused of leaving a racist and threatening note in a campus bathroom. Associate Professor Philip Heller has voiced safety concerns regarding hateful graffiti on campus with ABC7 in the past. And after these federal charges,
it's quite a relief.
The message from October read in part, "Warning, mass bomb next week," among other hateful statements towards Muslims, Asians, and Jews. Investigators found Fong's fingerprints on the paper, they learned he accessed the building with his key card on several instances and was seen going in and out of the bathroom where the note was found.
We've been following the story of hateful graffiti on San Jose State's campus for years. In fact, University Police says there have been 20 such incidents since October 2024. In a statement, a university spokesperson says they are grateful an arrest has been made and charges have been filed, saying, quote,
"We remain steadfast in our commitment to fostering a campus where every member of our community can learn, work, and thrive free from hate and intimidation."
I'm very happy that this has happened, and I hope that this perpetrator is the one who has done all the rather many anti-Semitic graffiti that have happened in the past couple of years.
Legal analyst Stephen Clark says the Fed stepped in because this kind of messaging violates constitutional freedoms for students on a public campus.
Okay, so again, just like the guy in Chicago, it's another gay leftist Asian. When I say gay, there's some evidence to that effect. But before we review that evidence, should we go Trump 2015? We need a complete and total shutdown of Gaysians entering this country until we can figure out what the hell is going on.
Well, they are a national security threat, so yeah.
Something is happening here. But we know this guy is left-wing and apparently gay, or at least the Justice Department says so, because of his social media presence. He has a history of criticizing immigration enforcement. His profile picture on some platforms is a rainbow flag. He characterized himself as 100% woke, I guess. Does anybody actually do that unironically, though?
That's the thing, is woke people, I think, realize that the term is pejorative now. It's been made into one.
Back in, remember the Black Lives Matter guy, DeRay McKesson?
Yeah, I think he started woke, and then it turned against
in like
him.
2015, yeah.
Fatigue was the same thing. It started as like things that black people were fatigued by in society, and then Instagram flipped it for the better.
Ah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Part of history.
But we were talking about Chinese communist influence earlier with Trump's speech. Is it possible that both of these guys are in fact Chinese communists? And I'm not just saying ethnically Chinese. They're both ethnically Asian, of course, but I mean actually from China, Chinese nationalists or nationals here on a student visa. Are these guys Chinese nationals? They listed him under race. So the San Jose State University Police Department did its booking record, and maybe Chinese was, maybe I'm making too much of it, but race was listed as Chinese. Is that common? Don't they usually write Asian?
Well, we have like 3 races in this country. We have Asian, Black, and not Hispanic. Like my race is not Hispanic on every form. Like what? I don't know.
Well, usually they lump the Hispanics and the white people together. That's how they bump up the crime stats.
Yeah. Dude, there's a whole Twitter account where he goes through. I'll have to get the name. He goes through like police databases or public postings. I don't know how he's getting them, but he's going through all these crime stats and seeing how common is it that non-white people get listed as white?
Oh, it's all the time.
And it's everywhere. And I don't think he's found cases of the reverse. And even if there was, it would be so uncommon. It would just be a fat finger error.
Is the one white guy named Jamal contributing to the crime stats? Was he listed as black? He hasn't found that guy.
Got booked as white today. So
I forgot. Yeah, they just got picked. What are they got picked up, Andrew Tate and his brother in Miami?
Yeah, it's the only Muslims that the UK is willing to try for sex crimes.
Oh, I thought it was. It's not even. I thought it was U.S. arrest.
No,
it's
no,
UK arrest?
they're getting extradited to the UK. Yeah.
Oh, so we arrested them on behalf of
the
UK. And do we know what they're trying to get them for?
It's some sexual related thing. Okay. I would have to read the actual documents. I guess I probably should have, but no, I don't.
No, I saw that. I just didn't have time to look into it. So it's not something I don't have an opinion on
it. They always seem shady to me, but I'm not going to render an opinion until there's a trial or whatever.
All right. Yeah. Anything else on this San Jose case? Thank you for finding this story.
No, I did think it was funny when the professor was like, hopefully every hate crime was committed by this guy.
Well, what he means
I know what
is
what he means is that there's not an actual threat, but it was funny how he was giddy, like, hopefully this is their guy.
There are a couple different ways to interpret that. The best thing I can say is San Jose State has had a series. It's very possible this guy was he submitted several of these hoax letters dating back a couple of years. So I think what the professor means is, I'm very glad that he's been arrested, and hopefully the entirety of what was believed to be threats at San Jose State were faked by him. Critically, though, that guy does run the the Jewish student organization or whatever it is. I don't know. I tried to look in to see, did they get any policy changes on the back of this claim? Did they have any silver linings that came through these threats? I didn't see anything obvious. If you wanted to be critical, the giddiness would be for the hoax itself. But I haven't seen anything to say that guy is linked to the Chinese guy who did it. I've not seen any connection so far.
Hate crimes are not what they used to be. Remember, I know this is forever ago, but at Mizzou, the alleged poop swastika started a whole racial reckoning.
They used to be.
What a time to be alive.
There are still good ones that come around, but the hate hoaxes 10 years ago, I mean, they were great. Yeah,
that was awesome.
And not only that at Mizzou, but remember, who was the guy who did the hunger strike? Jonathan something? I can't remember his name.
And then there was the main journalist who exposed it ended up pruning out.
Oh, I didn't even know that. But there was Melissa, what's her name?
Melissa
the professor.
Melissa Click.
But the Black Lives Matter guy, Jonathan, remember the college
Butler.
President? Was that it? College president was driving through and he kind of put his leg halfway in front of the car to act like he had been run over.
Yeah.
Oh,
and it turns out his father had a net worth of like $20 million. And someone found out an old blog post from him where he apparently would go to at a Holiday Inn or at a hotel every morning. They would have a free breakfast, and he would go there to eat the free breakfast.
Absolute savage.
He had fantasies about getting caught and police holding him down and weird stuff, man. These people
Speaking of hilarious police encounters, another thing I didn't have time to include in the show. Did you see the Sonny Hostin body cam footage?
Yes.
That was pretty funny. People should go watch it. Anyway, long story short, Sonny Hostin's son got picked up for trespassing on the train tracks, and Sonny Hostin calls the police, I'm a federal prosecutor, and he's a Harvard graduate.
And she pulled the I'm on the View card as well.
I didn't hear that part, but the whole point was this is a lady who rails against supposed privilege on her show all the time. The first thing she does is she exercises her celebrity privilege to try to get her son out of what ended up being a nothing ticket. It's not like they were charging him with a felony and booking him into prison. It was like, hey man, I know it sucks, but we got to keep the train tracks clear because that can cause big problems. So you're going to get a ticket. And his mom freaked out and exercised her View privilege. I'm a federal. I had one person email this to me, and it is a fair point. She says in the video, I am a federal prosecutor, I believe. Not former. Or maybe she at one point said former, but at certain points in it, she says, I am a federal prosecutor, which I think is she's trying to scare the police officers or something. But that's not true. She's not currently a federal prosecutor. Right. I guess she was, which is shocking that lady had that job. I guess not, but the footage is worth watching for anybody who would like 10 minutes of entertainment.
Bizarre because, even if let's say she's successful and there's no charges, it wasn't going to be anything anyway. It's such the negative PR from the video is 100 times worse than anything.
If he had just shut up, nobody knows it's Sonny Hostin's son.
Yeah, exactly.
And it never would have came to light.
And if it came to light, she could then, and it would be bullshit, but try to claim it's because he was a black man that blah, blah, blah. And it would have at least aided her stupid narrative, but no, she's an idiot regardless. So
never forget, Sonny Hostin's wealth, fame, notoriety, all built on the backs of slaves. She has slave owners in her family history.
I will never forgive her for that, ever. Ever.
All right. Well, we saved the best for last tonight, or we saved something new, something I haven't done before. For last. A few months back, a listener named Spencer contacted me interested in a video game project. And you may see Spencer super chatting. In fact, he super chatted earlier tonight about how much it would cost to, quote, get with Dank Demoss. But he uses that Guardian Game Studio name. So you'll see him in the chat from time to time. But Spencer pitched an idea to me. Hey, I make fun, retro video games. What do you think about building your own video game? And, it's not going to be anything crazy in production. It'll be like a fun little Game Boy game you can play anywhere with an emulator. And I thought that sounded cool. And he's built a lot of games before. This is not a first-time thing for him, so I know he can do it. And we've been thinking of some ideas through the spring, and we've fine-tuned it over the course of the last few months. And now we are ready to reveal the game. It is Matt Christiansen Media Mayhem, The pre-orders for the game, let me pull it up here. I forgot I have the graphic. The pre-orders for the game are actually now live through the Kickstarter page. They're going to be open for the next 30 days. You can go to mattchristiansenmedia.com/game to check it out. And after the Kickstarter campaign closes in 30 days, we will get to work shipping the game digitally and physically. Now, to show you the game, we actually have this prepared segment. It's an explanation, a promotional of the game, plus Spencer joins to talk about it. And yes, Matt Palumbo trying some pieces of the game himself. Segment's about 15 minutes. I give you Matt Christiansen Media Mayhem. I have in my hand one perfectly crispy tater tot, cooked to the precise golden brown specifications of 425 degrees Fahrenheit for 25 minutes, patiently preheated and baked for neither a second shorter nor a second longer. Those who followed my channel closely understand this method isn't simple guidance for a properly prepared potato side dish. This is civilization. And sure, it may be easy to indulge in this simple pleasure at home, but the real challenge is bringing that civilization to the world. A challenge so difficult, in fact, that it now may have you throwing your controller across the room in the sort of rage I used to showcase on YouTube myself.
Imagine that Skeg has like a freaking
This? Are you serious?
vendor.
Way back before I somehow became an allegedly serious newsman who actually just runs old bits into the ground for a living. Thanks to our friends at Soarin' Games, I am pleased to announce the launch of a very exciting project, the perfect blend of every piece of my internet career: news, politics, philosophy, inside jokes and bits, and video games into, well, a video game. It is Matt Christiansen Media Mayhem. It's a retro-style Game Boy Color game in which you play as yours truly, flannel-clad on a quest to complete my story. There's a hoax hate crime to solve, there are cyclists on the roadway in need of vehicular justice, there are Russian operatives seeking my capture and the end of my campaign. There are indeed French fries to be perfectly cooked and served to a long line of hungry customers who demand the perfection that the prophecy foretold. All of it on the arduous journey to realize my ultimate destiny. The ever-elusive front-page hit piece from a still-masked journalist who has finally had enough of my hateful misinformation, and the prized golden flannel to mark the achievement. Beyond the main campaign, the game is loaded with Easter eggs my longtime listeners will enjoy. Many of them games themselves, games within the game. It's an old-school throwback, but our friends at Soarin' Games have added tons of detail and extras to make it a fun, challenging, and replayable product. If you back this Kickstarter campaign to pre-order the game, you have several great options. Just $10 will get you a digital copy that's playable anywhere you can run a Game Boy emulator. Your PC or Mac, your phone or tablet, just download the game, run it on your emulator, and play away. The complete in-box edition sells for $39. That gets you a physical Game Boy cartridge with a printed box and a manual. The coveted Golden Flannel edition sells for $69. That gets you a limited gold cartridge, plus the printed box and insert signed by yours truly, plus your name credited in the manual for the game as well. And all players have access to the Victory Password Challenge. If you play the game and successfully complete my destiny, defeat the fearsome masked journalist, collect your hit piece, and don the golden flannel, you will earn the victory password and the right to be featured on the game's Wall of Fame on my website. So if you enjoy my channel, if you enjoy retro video games, if you'd just like to help the channel out and get some kicks for your efforts, make a pre-order pledge for Matt Christiansen Media Mayhem from Soarin' Games right now. The game itself is all finished up and will be ready for delivery shortly. And by the way, when you do get it, don't forget the secret Russian code. Up, down, left, right, B, A, start. Good luck, comrade. And don't let the gulag get ya. I'm here with our friend Spencer from Soarin' Games, the developer behind the exciting new Matt Christiansen Media Mayhem video game. Spencer, thank you for joining.
Thank you, Matt. Appreciate it.
Well, let's give people a sense of the game and really your games in general. If people decide to pick up Matt Christiansen Media Mayhem, what should they expect?
Well, I think you'll find a fun retro style game in the vein of like a Game Boy Color game. So it should bring you back to, you know, the late 80s, the early 90s in that style.
This is Matt Palumbo making not his first attempt at Matt Christiansen Media Mayhem, but close to his first attempt. The game is supposed to be challenging, as Spencer can tell you, but not anything close to impossible. So we'll see how highly regarded your video game skills are.
You can blame it on
We're
the
in. Okay, good. Thank God. All right, here we go. Matt in his room.
Now this game, so this is like the 4-2-5 game. You know, you got to perfectly cook the fries, perfectly cook the burgers to these demanding customers. This one, I think, to actually do it in the time limit,
this one was hard.
One of the more challenging achievements in the game. I don't think I've done it in the time limit quite yet. I've gotten close.
I don't know what I just made.
They're fries that go to the... Look, you perfectly cooked them.
All right. It looks like patties.
Yeah.
Cook.
Drop it over at the grill.
Look at this guy trying to put burger patties in the oven.
Listen, in real life, I wouldn't have done that.
Remember, the pink ones are the most points.
All right, cool. Are they gay or something?
Now, it was tough to do with the pixel limits of the game, but I did try to put a little tiny turban on all the semi-drivers as they're driving towards you.
Those are supposed to be ethnically authentic truck drivers, yeah.
Yes, they are.
I don't know if we got a Haitian one. Only Indians?
Well, you could really tell. I mean, just because they're driving the wrong way on the highway, that should be the first indicator. I didn't put the turban on there.
I'm 99. All right, gotta hit a cyclist.
Oh, no. Yeah, now you're going to run out of gas and you're not going to pass.
No,
you need to get a cyclist or some gas ASAP. Hit that guy.
Dead.
Ooh.
107.
You did it. Nick of time. As someone who's built many of these games, what's your favorite part about this game? What do you enjoy the most?
You know, I'd have to say the Hoax hate crime was probably my favorite. I got the most laughs from people that, some of my game testers who are not political at all, but there's certain parts, I don't want to give too many spoilers, but you get through a part of it, and I'm just having them test through it, and I get the rolling belly laughs. We're like, oh my God, that was hilarious.
Hoax hate.
Yeah, so you got to solve the Hoax hate crime, man.
All right, find the clues. Let's see. Is there a backward swastika?
It's a good prediction. You can talk to those people too. Everybody's.
Let's see. All right, so let's talk about the guy behind the dumpster. He used to blow the president. Interesting. Okay.
This is Chicago, after all. Don't forget.
A bicycle with no seat. Who would ride this?
Now, but there is one detail you forgot with this bicycle with no seat that I ride, Spencer, and that is that the bike remains unstolen, I think, in Chicago after I'm finished up with it. So that's a little bit unrealistic.
Right,
but this is one of the best bits. Sorry, we need to pay attention here.
Wow, it's great to see a female officer here. Oh, she...
You better hurry up. You've been shot, dude. You gotta tend to your wounds. 3, 2, 1.
Oh, no.
It's over.
I get killed by I locked eyes with a female cop.
Yeah, it's over.
I wasn't wearing my bulletproof vest.
No,
that is really funny.
When you talk to the female officer, you have got to grab that med kit. You got 5 seconds to grab it. You're going to find a ton of Easter eggs if you've been a fan of the show, like I've been for so many years. Hey, Matt, why don't you go over to the computer, turn that on, and save your progress over there real quick.
There we go. Matt booted up the PC. That's me. Save. Okay. Where the hell's the duct tape at?
Duct tape bottom right corner. Duct tape back up to Matt's PC to get the fire out.
Awesome.
Get the pill bottle real quick.
The blood thinners?
Deep vein thrombosis. Deep thrombosis. DVT. Yeah. There's this little Easter egg too. You got to watch out for Cupid's arrow.
Oh God.
Little naked man trying to chase you down.
He got you. He had his way with you.
Bummer.
He's writing a poem about it right now.
As a fan of the show for 6 years, I thought, God, you know what would be kind of fun and funny? Let's make a game on all the little bits and pieces from your career and then put it into one small game that everybody can enjoy.
All right. The Russians are after you for defying Kremlin orders.
I like the little wanted signs that we had. That was a good touch, Matt.
Yeah, those turned out funny. Well, it's funny how you can make someone fairly recognizable in what is kind of a limited format. Like I had my son looking at this. Wow, that's Daddy in a video game. You know, you can tell, even though it's it's such like a Game Boy presentation. It's still recognizable to him, which was pretty cool. This is a movie quiz.
I'll be back. Oh my god, what could that possibly be from? Show me the money. Wall Street. I mean, it's 1, 2, or 4, I think. Unless I don't know. I feel like I've never seen Jerry Maguire, but I feel like it's so obviously a finance movie. You could have put that in there to throw me off.
I think we've done pretty good, man, with the question.
Ooh, man, when you said it's 1, 2, or 4, it's definitely not Jerry Maguire. I was prepared to laugh, but he sniffed it out. So one thing that's really cool about this game, it's not just that there's a whole campaign, a whole story, I suppose. But what I appreciate is you've gone through the extra effort of putting a lot of Soren games, other material into the game. There are games within the game that really, I think, add to the content and add to the value.
You'll find kind of other mini games from stuff we've done in the past. Soren Games has had a 5-year career of making fun games, either based on the past, maybe games that are based on some of my novels, things in my life. We've made a couple of funny games too as well that I've gotten some hate mail for. We did make another game called Leering Center, where you get to go door to door stealing money from the Minnesota patrons that would allow that to happen.
All right, let's play Call of Duty. Oh, I'm going to murder everyone.
You got to play Northmen versus Cheesehead on that one. There's a call out to my favorite football player.
Oh, I'm not going to win this.
Oh, you are. This one's pretty easy.
Just run.
But you're right. You're doing the Jim Marshall. You're running the wrong way. Okay.
If you pump the run button, you go a little bit further.
Well, I didn't. Is there like a turbo mode? I didn't know there's like a. I didn't see that.
That was by accident.
Oh yeah. Okay. The Northmen win thanks to Noah K.
Can we say that on this game, Noah Kaniga? Is that okay for me to?
It might be intellectual property now. I don't know that you can actually monetize the name. And for people who are maybe interested in doing a Kickstarter pre-order, what can they expect? When will this game be delivered?
Well, the game is already complete, so we've gone through all the game testing. We're ready to go. So the next steps are we're going to run the Kickstarter. We're going to go to print. We actually have some of the carts already physically here. We're going to ship the cartridges and the boxes out to Matt so he can sign on the ones that he's going to sign for the Golden Flannel Edition. And then as soon as the Kickstarter closes, about a week afterwards, we collect the funds from Kickstarter, and then we'll be shipping games. This is not one of those Kickstarters that's going to run into oblivion where you're going to be waiting a year to get your game. We're done. And that's kind of what we're known for. Producing a game, coming to market, and then getting that game in your hands within 60 days from the Kickstarter starting to you actually physically having a game in your hands.
And one thing I think is important for people to understand, which I didn't necessarily understand as someone who doesn't play a lot of these retro games, old school games, Game Boy games. I know you can run emulators. I've played like the Lion King Sega Genesis on my computer because I had to finally finish it because I couldn't when I was a kid. But I didn't realize how easy it is to actually run these games if you don't have the hardware. Initially, I thought, well, I don't have a Game Boy. How am I going to play this? And I thought it was just kind of a PC emulator thing. But I want people to understand you can run the emulator on pretty much any computer device.
Yeah, MGBA is one. Same Boy is another. You can download those emulators for free. Play it on your phone, your PC, your tablet. Or if you've got that physical device and you really want that, you can play it on any physical devices that you might have too as well. So there's a wide breadth. You don't think that, well, it's a Game Boy game, I can't play it. You can still enjoy it on any of those other platforms.
And I haven't even tried this yet, but let's say I wanted to could I play it with like an Xbox controller if I had that plugged into my PC?
Yeah, absolutely. It's Bluetooth, so if you can Bluetooth it up to your computer, absolutely, which I suggest. We had Palumbo playing the game and he was trying to do it on a keyboard. Not probably the best way to play it.
Especially his keyboard. What is it about retro games that you love so much? What captures your interest about building these games?
I think it's just been a big resurgence. All these new games are so huge. You get these AAA studios that are making these massive games. And I mean, as a father, I know you've got a couple of kids, maybe, what are you up to, like 4 or 5 right now?
Only 3, but
Only
God willing,
3.
there will be more. Yeah.
Well, I hope that there are. And, it's just you're generally the folks that are in our age bracket, you kind of give that like 30 to 50. We don't really have the time to get into a large game, a AAA game. It takes a couple hours just to learn how to play the game. So these quicker pick up and play games have had a huge resurgence in the market where people are looking for something that they can have fun with. It's got that nostalgia factor. It's built by somebody maybe or made by somebody that they like, they follow. and I just want to get back into it.
A very big thanks to Spencer and Soren Games. This is one of the coolest projects of my internet career, and I'm humbled that he and his team spent so much time on it. Thanks to Matt Palumbo for being a good sport and playing the game under pressure for all to see as well. If you would like to pre-order a copy of the game, again, playable on all of your devices, go to mattchristiansenmedia.com/game, linked in the description. We will be delivering shortly. So there you have it. I apologize for what I said about your keyboard. It has been functioning excellently for several streams straight now.
Very highly regarded at gaming.
Sure. Hey, it's tough to be put on the spot and play a game for people to view without you had seen it for probably like 2 minutes just to make sure we had the whole tech setup right, and jumped right into it. So thanks for being guinea pig.
And thanks for showing my brilliance and accidentally getting that Jerry Maguire question correctly.
that was a funny point. We played it for probably like a half hour. I had to cut out the best parts. But
I've seen the clip of it's Tom Cruise, right? Is the main Okay, I feel like I've seen the clip of him actually saying that, so that popped in my head as I realized you guys were trying to throw me off with the finance
proof
stuff,
that I don't have such an embarrassing level of movie knowledge. Thank you for that.
But I'm gonna get one of the. Is that like you really get a Game Boy box with the?
Yeah, it's a full printed box. There are a lot of collectors who are into that. I understand not everybody is. So if you're just a casual player, you want to check it out for a little bit. I should tell people, again, this is not like Assassin's Creed or Grand Theft Auto, but from picking up the game fresh to completing it, this is probably like 3 hours, 2 to 3 hours of material there. This is not just like it may look super simple, or it may look like one of those calculator games you played in algebra class back in the day. Maybe you're too young for those TI 89s or whatever. Now, Spencer and his team put a lot of detail into this, and I really appreciate that they did within what is kind of a fairly limited setup to develop something with that level of detail for like a Game Boy type setup. I think is really impressive, and they clearly take it very seriously, and they didn't have to, but like I have no idea how many hours he and his guys put into it. I wouldn't be surprised if it's hundreds. Okay. This was an incredible amount of work for them to do, and they didn't have to do it other than Spencer enjoys the channel and enjoys the show and decided it'd be fun to have something that very few people in this arena have. And, it's silly, it's stupid, it's whatever. But how many people have their own kind of, they have their own bits, but do they have their own, can you get shot by a female police officer in their video game? Few people have that. Not even, oh God, why am I spacing on his name? The guy who has the famous, Sam Hyde, who has the famous female police. Not even he has a video game where you get shot by a female cop, but he deserves it, actually. All credit to him.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Just for anyone who buys the digital version, what was the name of the emulator you had me download? I feel
we used Sameboy.
Okay, so anyone gets the digital one. Sameboy is what I was playing.
There are multiple, but you can play it on pretty much any device. So again, mattchristiansenmedia.com/game. And I also realized that there might be questions related to this game, or you, whatever point of inquiry you may have. Feel free to get in touch with me. I want to make sure that people's questions are answered, and you can send me an email. It's the email address is in the description. You can go to the contacts page on my website, mattchristiansenmedia.com/contact.
I just saw this question in the chat. For people who buy the physical version, what do they need to make that? Is it a regular Game Boy, or is it an emulator, something you can buy separately?
Game Boy Color it's designed for. Okay. But as far as what specific hardware it will run on, I'll have to check with Spencer. I know Game Boy Color. I do know that.
I'm sure it's probably on GoFundMe.
We should also clarify, you buy the physical, you get the digital as well. So it's not like you're boxed out from playing it on your phone or your PC. Everybody gets the digital. So, okay. Well, we got to catch up with our super chatters, and then we'll call it a night. Let's see. I'm going to pick up on YouTube where I left off, and do you have where we left off on Rumble and Tippy?
I believe the most recent one I see on Rumble and Tippy is Long Dong John.
Yes, and actually, Tim reminded me that we lost a message from Newbie somewhere.
Okay.
We got the one where he said, if you read this, but that means I must have missed one maybe on YouTube.
I only see one, and it's from Rumble/Tippy.
Yes. Okay, I did miss one from Newbie earlier. I'm glad I didn't have to die for Israel when I was in. Well, first of all, thanks for serving the country. What? You were in? When were you in?
No, I'm glad he didn't have to die for Israel.
Oh, I thought you were saying. I almost did.
Glad he's alive. Jeez.
I'm glad. I am also glad that Newbie's not dead. But yeah, it is. I know that's kind of the meme. Like, I ain't dying for Israel. You know, you got the guy drinking the beer or whatever. And he's got the mullet and he's flying the American flag. It is for even the hawks on Iran and those who believe that the president is exercising his own discretion. And I largely do. Like, is there Israeli influence? Yes. Absolutely. Is there Israeli cooperate? Yes, that's very real. Do I believe that Donald Trump is a literal Israeli puppet? I think he makes his own decisions and his own judgments, even if they are influenced by other people. But here's the thing. Even if you want to say the full extent of that this was entirely Donald Trump's decision in the interest of the United States only, Israel is just a secondary beneficiary of what's going on, it is very difficult to say that currently the United States has obviously benefited from the action against Iran. I find that to be an almost impossible argument
Israel's
to make.
benefited quite a bit more. And it's just insulting to me that when Trump does publicly push back at Netanyahu, like his approval is underwater in Israel right now after being very, very popular. And it's like, we've given you guys, in inflation-adjusted terms, over...
Wait, you're saying Trump is underwater in Israel? Yeah. Public opinion is against him?
Is now against him because he wants to bring the war to a close. And one of his million peace deals they had a huge problem with because, the Israel...
This is what people have been talking about J.D. Vance's commentary on Joe Rogan, and there was supposedly some kind of influence campaign to undo the peace deals, is what he was talking about.
But it's like, listen, we've given you guys in inflation-adjusted dollars over $300 billion. We signed off on a lot of stuff of yours we probably shouldn't have. We've let you influence our government to an incredible degree. Thomas Massey, who I'm not the biggest fan of, but he did reveal something that was very damning, that when you join Congress, you basically get an AIPAC handler assigned to you. That is insane. So I'm just saying, we've done a lot for this country that we probably shouldn't have. And for us to step out of line on one thing they want, for them to then turn on us is... I don't even know what to call it. It's just, there's a big mistake to ally with them, I guess is what I'm getting at here.
Thank you, Tim. And thank you, Newbie. Sorry to miss your chat earlier. Esoterica Unbound, Decimate. Oh, wait, this is... it's almost the same chat, but it's different. I thought it was the same one. Decimate literally means to kill, destroy 10% of a military force. So technically speaking, we need to decimate the Iranian military more than 10 times to actually render them harmless. Okay, so maybe it was, when he says we decimated them, maybe that is correct. We took out 10%.
I was going to joke during this segment, like that would be my spin if I had to, but I guess it's literally true.
Don't you know what decimate means?
Yeah.
Where's my button?
You dumb person.
There we go.
Long time.
Okay, what do you got next?
Matt Christiansen Game Studios presents Grand Theft Bozeman. Cap Antifa's survive surprise cringe, hoax a hate crime, collect money from Superchats, and have butt sex at town pump.
You're on. The sequel is already designed. Butt sex at town pump. I would never desecrate town pump that way. That's psychotic.
Hold on, my thing's up there. The best players won't even get a hit piece. Coming before Grand Theft Auto 6.
It is coming out before Grand Theft Auto 6. That's true. Now, I don't promise things that are unmade or unplanned. But I will say there is, Spencer and I have enjoyed doing this, and I think he's fine with me saying there is potential interest toward building more things in the future. That's all I would say. So, if this is something that is successful and people enjoy, potentially we could. I wouldn't do like a direct sequel, I don't think, but it would be kind of fun if you could make a meme game for the year or something. It would be a fun project, though it's easy for me to say because I just sit back and bark orders. I actually don't. I don't bark orders, but I didn't, as far as the work of doing this, I had made a promotional and I sort of said what I think are smart decisions to make in terms of the content of the game, but I didn't do a damn thing for the work of making the game. I have no idea how they did that, and they're magicians, so I can't promise their work because they're the ones who are actually doing it.
Yeah, very cool. We got one from GIAR.
Oh, GR, he's back.
GR Token Spick.
Yeah. You don't know. I guess you don't know GR.
One.
Yeah.
Well,
he is the token S word.
We've needed one.
Yeah.
So thank God, it's great to see him. Hey bitches, I'm back. Your favorite token spick and span. Spick and span. What's new and what's good? You on Dutton? Is that right? Dutton Ranch?
Dutton. The Dutton.
You on Dutton Ranch yet?
Not a Yellowstone guy, I guess, huh?
Nah. Come on and catch me up.
So if you're not a Yellowstone guy, you'll have no idea what the hell I'm talking about. But
No.
Dutton Ranch is the spin-off of Yellowstone that follows Beth and Rip to a Texas ranch. And I won't say much more so I don't spoil. But as someone who loves Yellowstone and pretty much the entirety of the Yellowstone universe, Marshall's, the Casey Dutton spinoff, was pure crap. It was NCIS dressed up in Yellowstone. It was awful, hardly watchable, not even for the cringe. I don't think I'll watch season 2, which I think is coming. Dutton Ranch, which follows Beth and Rip, very good. My family really enjoyed watching that. We've seen the whole first season all the way through, and we'll definitely tune in for the second one. It's not technically Taylor Sheridan. It's Taylor Sheridan's IP, but I don't think Sheridan wrote or directed this one. But the characters are great, as you'd expect. The story, I mean, it is impressive to me to create a story that is dramatic, suspenseful within the confines of what Yellowstone is. Hey, you have a cattle ranch, and these other people present threats to your cattle ranch. Uh-oh, someone's got to die. How many times can you do that formula? And yet they do. And Dutton Ranch, even though it is a continuation of the prior story, is still interesting and original enough with the introduction of new characters that I enjoyed it pretty much just as much as the original show. I really like it. So if you're into Yellowstone, definitely check out Dutton Ranch.
I'm so far behind on TV. I watched Lost last year.
I never watched Lost.
It's
I never have.
I don't want to overhype, but it's a really, really good show. And I really
didn't have a famously terrible ending, though, right?
Here's the thing, though. So for 20 years, well, not quite 20, but for 15 or so years, all I've been hearing about is it's going to be the worst ending you ever see.
Okay.
So in my head, I was expecting the worst era of television ever. It was about average. So in relative terms, it was awesome.
Same if you watch Game of Thrones now. Expect crap at the end and you'll be fine.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Spirit of Lexington, also unsurprising. Minnesota has several. My favorite name, Mrs. Dessert and Compier. I don't know who that is. But Spirit of Lexington adds, menstruate anally is probably a good description of this dude's political platform and qualifications. Yeah, sounds about right.
It's going to suck being... I don't think he got a single delegate vote, or at least is not expected to be the coming last place effectively and also get the most media attention. It's not a spot you want to be in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're good on the other platforms for now, yeah?
Just double check.
Or is there... I'm just going to continue on YouTube here.
I see. Well, we Spick and Span's the last guy we got.
ADM, thank you for covering all of the candidates, not just Ashley Webb. So many focused on it. So many just focused on it. I assume you mean Ashley. There was so much to see. Well, it's kind of one of those things where I knew there was some other stuff going on, so I thought, okay, I'm just going to sit down and watch these debates. And because I watched them, I feel like I have to get content out of it. Maybe I indulged a little bit too much. We probably didn't need a half-hour segment. But sometimes, if I'm going to spend the mental energy consuming a thing, I feel like I should make something of it. Otherwise, I'm just watching this weird tranny show, and that's why am I doing this? Why am I doing this with my life? I need to be something productive better come out of it. So thank you for acknowledging the value.
Good
ADM.
segments.
Appreciate it. Two Dogs Mike D. Matt, are you really surprised they didn't go after Trump for the war and the economy? They are all paid by AIPAC, so they aren't going to say a word about it in the record. Well, the thing is, they did. They talked about the Iran war, but it wasn't point one. Point one was the acknowledgement of the guy killed by ICE. The Iran war criticism was there. It just was a distant secondary thing that was hardly mentioned. It wasn't absent. Now, as far as like what their campaign contributions are, I have no idea. Are they funded by AIPAC lobbyists? Certainly is possible. Someone like, is Ashley Webb getting AIPAC money?
I don't know.
I mean,
I remember there was like this discourse on Twitter among trans people that like there's some common trans medication that only an Israeli company makes, and they were debating if it's ethical to buy from them because they're Israeli.
Someone should look into this, because I have no idea who may have funded these campaigns, AIPAC or any other lobbying group or political action committee or interest group generally. But given how quick this stuff was, like you had people joining the race last week and they're out today. Like some of these campaigns didn't even last a week. And I know that some of these people are just throwing stuff at the wall to see what sticks. But did any of these candidates get significant campaign contributions for like a week? It would be interesting to learn.
I mean, the Troy Jackson guy, I mean, he's been in office for 2 decades, so he must have his own PAC or organization that he has money parked in, I would assume. Maybe. I don't know. Like the last mayor of my town still has like 80 grand in his campaign account that he can't do anything with. So I don't
it's not
know
like
if,
you can just put that in your personal checking and have fun.
No.
Yeah, there are rules that govern that. But
you can, though. It is legal, apparently, to, if you have like leftover campaign funds, if you're no longer in office, to declare your intent to run, spend the money, and then not run. I think Mary Pelota did that one year.
You know,
Ilhan
Omar,
like that.
I think
it was
is
her. But
Ilhan Omar has found some ways to put the campaign
we need her
money
account,
to use
man.
as well.
Yeah.
Somehow, some way, she's funded by AIPAC too. We got to dig it up. Thank you, Two Dogs. Appreciate it. Bill Badson. Matt, you should look up how Ben and Jerry feel about the milk and honey flavor. I don't know what they said about that. I'd have to Google it or search it later. If you're trying to convince me against Ben and Jerry, I'm already fully convinced, and I am actually ashamed that I caved this week. And they have these new ice cream bars, and there was chocolate, or there was cookie dough, which their cookie dough ice cream is maybe the best, at least buy at the grocery store ice cream that exists, in my opinion. But then there was also strawberry cheesecake, and it's like I don't know what their strawberry cheesecake tastes like, and I don't know what they taste like in bar form. And temptation got the best of me, and it was indeed delicious. Those commies make damn fine ice cream. So Ben and Jerry suck, though. You don't have to convince me on that. I committed a moral wrong.
Nick's ice cream is very good. It's like a low calorie one. It's like 300 calories for the whole pint, and it's you can't tell it's a low calorie ice cream. I highly recommend it.
Maybe. In my opinion, if I'm eating ice cream, I don't give a shit about calories. That's why I'm eating ice cream. But every once in a while, those things, that type of quote unquote healthy food or like a healthier alternative is legitimately awesome. Case in point, longtime listener of the show, Michael Schlecht in Wisconsin. Shout out to him if he's listening. He told me these Costco cauliflower pizzas are amazing. Kirkland signature, you know. And I thought, well, if I'm buying a frozen pizza, I don't want cauliflower crust. Or what the hell's the point of this?
It does sound horrible.
But it does. But he told me you got to try it, and I did, and it is great pizza on its own. If you didn't say it was cauliflower crust, I don't think I would even know. It is actually very, very good. And I know I sound like a total homo for saying go to Costco and buy the cauliflower crust pizza, but I actually prefer it to the generic frozen pepperoni pizza that they offer.
I remember I tweeted years ago that I was going to start a pizza delivery business where I only delivered DiGiorno, and then they tweeted me a frowny face.
Well, how could they tell? They would assume it's not DiGiorno, or they would assume it's delivery. It's not DiGiorno, right?
Yeah, so who knows?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Newbie of Death reviews hit or shit says, isn't Florida the state where you can run over protesters if you feel threatened? Should she have run him over? I think if they I forget what their exact
I think, when it's those environmental crazies who just block a highway.
Yeah, like if they surround your car.
But they have to surround. Yeah, they have to surround you. Like, for instance, the guy at Charlottesville, I don't think would have been charged if he was in Florida.
Charlottesville. Yeah, I was thinking about James Field. Is it Fields or Field? I think it's Fields.
I actually don't know. I really don't think he was trying to kill people.
Well, I know it is. There's more video of like Antifa attacking him before he hit the gas. Mm-hmm. So it is more complicated than just I'm hitting the gas to commit murder. Yeah. But I still don't understand, because even if you were afraid of what they were doing to you, he drove quite a long way into that crowd.
But why drive backwards if you're trying to kill people? Why not plow all the way through,
I have to review that footage because...
And I swear, I don't know if I'm misremembering, but I swear to God, I saw a still where he's pressing his brakes at some point. I don't know if it's a false memory, but we should... I mean, this is 10 years out of date.
I've never looked at that super critically. I always figured that is what it was presented as, that he drove his car in aggression into that crowd. But I've not done the breakdown, and so much has happened since then, because remember, that was 2017. So the entirety of the bullshit that the mobs will go to, I don't think I was as critical then as I would be now looking at it. So I need to go review it.
The only piece of evidence against him that I thought was significant was in an old text. Well, actually, it wasn't even an old text. It was a text from a few weeks prior. He had texted a friend about like how much he would love to drive over a protester or something.
Okay. Well,
but here's the thing. Yeah. I've texted that to dozens of people, and if someone surrounds my car and I have to run them over, it's just a coincidence. Like it doesn't necessarily mean you're actually going to do it. You say stuff in text.
If I posted in the Discord, hey, if someone broke into my house and threatened my family, I would kill them, and then I would Graham Plattner them.
Yeah.
But it doesn't change the fact that if someone broke into my house and I did defend my family, that I would be justified. You know, like it because you wrote about it doesn't mean the action is inherently unjustified.
Correct. Yeah. So
but,
there was a point during the Rittenhouse trial that he had also made comments about wanting to shoot protesters or something, and the judge was like, "Well, that's irrelevant because that was." Anyway,
it was at a different event, like a year or two beforehand. Yeah. Come on, Brian says I have to buy this game, just as a thank you for all the content and hard work throughout the years. I hope the beautiful blonde is one of the bosses. No, we're not going to. Part of the game design, of course, is you can't really put real people's, what's the term I'm looking for? Their likeness. Yeah, you can't put their likeness in the game for a whole bunch of legal reasons. So we don't, the people who, there are characters that may represent certain themes, the female police officer, the masked journalist, but there's not anybody that's going to be clearly identifiable to one person. And frankly, like, it's not, obviously that whole thing, that's not a conflict I'm looking to reignite.
Yeah.
So I would not do some underhanded game thing where I try to take shots at somebody in that way. Guardian Game Studio, our friendly game developer, Spencer, Game Boy Color and Game Boy Advance. So this is this answers the question we heard earlier. Also, you can play on GameCube if you have the Game Boy Player add-on. So that's very cool. And of course, all Game Boy Color emulators for Apple, Android, and PC. So there you go. I didn't actually know it was that device versatile. So it's Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, and GameCube if you have the little conversion kit. Sounds
so cool.
like plus all your emulators. Thank you, Spencer, for the clarity on that.
We need a level where I go to door selling books to people who don't want to listen.
Injured Guardian. A. Jones may be right. Lindsey Graham looks a lot like Sarah Netanyahu. Okay. Oh, Alex Jones said this? So there's like what are we saying? Lindsey Graham looks, so Lindsey Graham, Sarah Netanyahu is who? Bibi's daughter? Is that? I don't know who Sarah is.
I don't know the name. No.
But is the theory here that Lindsay is the father of Bibi's daughter? Also, will the game be for sale post Kickstarter? I'll be delayed, job loss. Well, I'm very sorry to hear it. And all the best with your job search. And yeah, it's not like it's going away and you'll never be able to get a hand on it. After the Kickstarter is over, it will remain for sale and you'll still be able to get it. So don't worry. The one thing I don't know, and I should clarify with Spencer, I don't know that the special stuff will be available. Like you want the golden flannel, the collector stuff. I don't know about that. But as far as just getting the digital copy of the game, yeah.
Will you have it on your website?
It will always be sold. I will link it, of course. I'll have a page where you can find it, but it is a Soren Games property, so it will remain on their site for sale. But I will certainly facilitate traffic to find it once the Kickstarter campaign is over. Okay. It's another 3-hour show, man. All right. I think we're all caught up, though. We're good on Rumble. I think we're good on Tippy. Make sure I didn't miss anything. I think we're good on YouTube. Yeah. Okay. You don't see anything we missed?
One last check. No, just spick and span is the last thing. That's so funny. I'm going to start using that.
Yeah. Well, thank you for coming back, GR. Good to see you. All right. Well, we will call it there. Thanks for tuning in tonight. Thanks to our live chatters and super chatters for making the live show a success. If you're listening on demand later, thank you kindly as well for supporting the show. Thanks to our guest, Guy Relford. Find him at relfordlaw.com. Follow him on X at Guy Relford. Thanks to Matt Palumbo for his assistance. Find his latest book and follow him on X. All linked in the description. Thanks to Spencer from Guardian Games. Again, mattchristiansenmedia.com/game. You'll get directed to that Kickstarter to check out the game and consider a pre-order. By the way, mattis.gay/game. also works if you prefer brevity. But of course, find everything show related at mattchristiansenmedia.com or mattis.gay. Also, join the MC Club if you enjoy the show. A lot of supporter perks available for you there. You help keep the duct tape production in operation. But we appreciate everybody tuning in tonight. Have a great night. I'm back on Wednesday. Hope to see you then.